Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Player1 Sim Gear GT3 Championship, the final series at MotorMotion E-Series for 2025. It is Season 3. We've got 10 rounds ahead of us. We are super excited to be back here in the commentary box to bring you all the action out on track. It's time to get going. It's two groups, of course, today. Group A, Group B, 4 divisions, Elite, Pro, Pro-Am, and Am, fighting it out through the next 10 rounds of racing to see who's going to be our team's champion of 2025 in Season 3. And of course, who is going to be the one champion out there, our top driver? Who's it going to be? We've got a huge selection of fantastic returning drivers and a whole bunch of new drivers coming into the grid. Many returning teams, familiar names, returning stories. Going to see how these stories evolve over the next 10 rounds of racing. Excited as always, and the proud broadcast partner tonight and throughout the remainder of the series, of course, it is TrackSpot TV. My name is George Cook. I'm joined in the commentary box today by Nick Tasso, the duo returning to your screens for both Group A and Group B coverage tonight. Go and check us out, trackspot.tv. That's www.trackspot.tv. Go and check out, of course, our primary sponsor, Player1 Sim Gear. Massive thanks to them for yet again sponsoring this fantastic season. Of course, Player1 Sim Gear, created by sim enthusiasts for sim enthusiasts. They're Queensland based, 100% Australia owned and operated, and they are online. Go and check them out at p1simgear.com.au. For all your information about MotorMotion E-Series, head to www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com and get involved. You've got series standings, up and coming results, team standings, the lot. It's all there. Articles will be coming out, of course, throughout the season. Taking a look at our calendar for the year, we've got 10 fantastically chosen rounds all the way through till the 9th of December. Broadcasts will be run on the Saturdays after those dates. Ahead of us today, it is the Autodromo Nazionale Monza for a 50-minute race. That's round 1. Then we head to France for Cirque de la Sarthe. I think that's actually Italy. Then it's Brands Hatch. We head to England. Nürburgring GP course comes after that in round 4, followed by Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Then it is over to Interlagos. Then it's Watkins Glen. The American leg begins there. Then goes to Daytona International Speedway, and we end with 2 fantastic rounds. We're going to Autopolis and Mount Panorama for the season finale. Welcoming in Nick Tasso to the commentary box, mate. We are looking forward to the season. 10 rounds, and these are some excellent tracks for GT3 racing.
G'day, George. G'day, viewers. Yes, welcome back to the coverage here. I'm very excited to be a part of this team and very excited to bring you all of the co-commentary action here at TrackSpot TV. It is a fantastic calendar. First of all, I am so grateful and honored to be a part of this series in 2025. I myself get to be a part of this series racing in the elite class. I'm against some of the top drivers in this category, and I'm so excited to put myself to the challenge. Monza, a beautiful way to start this campaign in 2025. The ones I'm kind of really looking forward to are personal favorites of mine. I'm looking at the Nürburgring in round 4, Bathurst for the finale. But I loved the bit of spice when it comes to Le Mans, Spa, because it can really open up the opportunity for the potential of wet tracks and wet racing. So I'm really excited to get involved in this campaign.
Going to be fantastic, and of course we're looking forward to seeing you out there on track. You'll be in the Group A lobby, so bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, he will be talking about his own racing. Don't blame him if he gets a little bit excited about his own moves and overtakes, and maybe he gets a little bit quiet when he makes some few mistakes. I won't blame you at all, Nick. You know I won't. I'll be right there supporting you all the way. Nonetheless, returning champions, of course, and we've got Hasel1 back. We've got Mad Turtle Racing. We've got all sorts going to be happening out on track. Let's take a little look at what's going to be happening today. The round, of course, is Autodromo Nazionale Monza. We're going to be seeing what happens into that first chicane. It's a tricky place to start a season, but nonetheless, 50 minutes later, we'll find out who is the winner. Late morning is the time of day. Racing soft tires today are mandatory through the race. Nick is going to talk us all through the racing soft considerations and the strategy considerations today. Tuning prohibited throughout the entire series. Drivers will be allowed, of course, to adjust the brake bias. Very important there. The weather out there today is 18 degrees Celsius, so that's going to be preset weather. It's the S09, but it's humid. Lots of cloud out there, Nick. Late morning. These aren't exactly optimum conditions.
I wouldn't say so, not so much. It is going to be a little bit slippery at the start of the race, so you will be seeing a lot of drivers actually weaving and getting the tire temps up as quickly as possible. There are some factors in this as well, obviously being late morning, being the very cold conditions, and then as soon as the track starts to heat up, coming into the afternoon, you'll start to see those tires wear out quite a fair bit, especially through the Lesmo 1s, Lesmo 2s, and through Ascari and Parabolica. You're looking at those corners where the car is going to be very heavy on that left side of the car, so watch out for that front left. And if you're in a MR car, so that's a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car, you're going to be looking out for those rear tires as well. So a lot of variables going to be mixed up and down the field here tonight.
Certainly will be. We're excited to get out there and go racing. We've got our qualifying results in already, so let me run you through them. Gopi Mahindajit has managed to take out the top spot. Excellent work there with a 1:47.582. He is nearly 9/10 clear of the next person on the grid. That's going to be Lewis Atkinson for Hooncorp Racing in his Supra. Of course, I think, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but every single team has got a different car on the grid this season. There was a round robin and choices were made. Everyone ended up with something different, and I'm gutted because Mad Turtle Racing was supposed to be in the McLaren, mate. What happened?
Yeah, well, there was a rumor there that the McLaren was what came into the headquarters and almost signed a deal with Mitch Gray, the leader of Mad Turtle Racing, but then a late swoop for the Mercedes AMG, a last-minute test with one of their former elite drivers coming in and saying that the Mercedes was the best option to go for. So there was no question of a doubt that Mitch Gray put pen to paper, signed for Mercedes. McLaren deal went out the door, sadly. But it is a great opportunity because the Mercedes is a very fantastic car to drive. It's actually quite up there when it comes to the daily races and the Group 3 machinery. That is one of the top contenders. So especially look out for tracks like Monza, the high-end tracks as well, like Le Sarthe, Spa-Francorchamps. You're looking at all these tracks where the top end and the fast-flowing corners is going to really suit the Mercedes.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm never going to forgive it from not having a McLaren on the grid this year. Maybe next year, maybe for Season 4, we shall see. In third place on the grid, it is Nick Pautasso. It's you, third place. Great qualifying there from you. A second behind Mahindajit, but we know how quick he is in that GTR. So, of course, racing you are for Mad Turtle Racing in the Mercedes AMG. Right next to you on the grid, it's going to be Luke Stone with the GR Supra. Also, of course, with Hooncorp Esports. Then it's going to be Nick Pfaff, returning for Aster Racing in the RCZ. Very interesting choice there. A powerful car. It's been in the meta for quite a number of years now in Gran Turismo 7. He's followed on the third row of the grid by Matthew Joinson, who returns to Aster Racing once again. They were separated in their qualifying by 6/1000ths of a second. Very close between the two Aster Racing drivers. Then it is GLR Scott Taylor. He'll be, of course, driving for Gridline Racing alongside Gopi Mahindajit. He's qualified 7th position, followed by Water Arrow. The top qualifier for Hasel1 Motorsport, interestingly enough. Then looking down to, I believe it is 9th place, it is Mr. McCullum, Matthew McCullum, in the 458 Italia GT3. And that is going to be a fantastic starting spot from him. He will have to do a lot of work in the Ferrari, the Tifosi, cheering him on today, followed by Spark in the 911 RSR 2017 model, nonetheless. Then it is Bruce the Shark, a man who we know well at Trackspot TV. He's run our livery, or our logo, I should say, in real life off-road dirt racing. What a fantastic guy he is. He's starting in 11th position, so your teammate a little bit further down the grid. Then it's Airborne in the 911 RSR, followed by Chris Farapapa in the NSX, and then Dubzito also in the NSX. So the NSX not looking particularly strong here. The Hondas maybe struggling a bit out there.
Yeah, it's very well an interesting car, the NSX. It's always up there, but at the same time, if you don't get the balance and the characteristics of driving this car right, you lose yourself all the way down the order. And we do have to remind our viewers as well, these two drivers, Chris Farapapa and Michael Brill, these are the two pro drivers, so they never actually managed to recruit an elite driver. So basically, they're vying for the same championship. So it's going to be very interesting. It could be some interesting team wars, team battles that those two might have. Hopefully, try to propel themselves a little bit towards the pointy end in this championship as we conclude 2025. But the Honda NSX it is a nice car to drive, very underrated, but you need to get it right because the rear tires, they chew through the rear tires like absolutely nothing. So a bit of a difficult place for them to be starting down the last two rows.
Indeed, we'll see how they progress through the field. It is time. We are ready to go. The drivers are on the grid. Rolling start this season. ×3 tires, ×3 fuel. Critical strategy decisions to be made. We'll talk to Nick about whether it's going to be a 2-stopper, a 1-stopper, or maybe the emergency 3-stopper. We shall see. Let's head down to the grid. We'll see you over there in a few moments' time. Here we go. We are getting on the way for our race. This is going to be it. So let's keep a very close eye on this. We actually have a bit of an audio problem at the moment. We'll try and get that solved mid-race. Here we go. It's the first few meters of Season 3 here at the Player1 SimGear GT3 Championship for MotorMotion E-Series. Weaving there by Nick Pautasso, the one and only. Trying to get his tires up to temperature. It's critical to get a good entrance into this first corner. Lewis right behind him, blocking the road. And we've got Luke Stone and Nick Pfaff and Jointson almost going side by side into turn 1. They're through, they're away, and they're going. And into Curva Grande we go for the first time. Fantastic part of the circuit to race at. Nick is under a little bit of pressure there from Luke Stone early on.
Yeah, great start by Gopi and Lewis. Obviously, with the rolling start, you don't really see a lot of moves going to that first corner. So it makes Retifilio a very calm chicane rather than a standing start. So you see a bit of a tail snap there from Matthew Jones. Cold tyres at the beginning of this race. And as you can see there, as myself in third place, I'm on the medium tyres, so you can see why I'm not gaining on the front two drivers in Gopi and Lewis Atkinson. And I'm pretty much a bottleneck for the rest of the field down from fourth below. So medium tyres, a bit of a different strategy. Majority of the drivers on the racing softs, but we'll be keen to see how it all pans out as the laps continue. But it is Gopi and Lewis, your front two.
There we go. So decent start from them. The Aster Racing chaps side by side at the minute as they head through the Ascari chicane for the first time. Nick looking strong, starting out on the medium tyres, soft tyres for Luke Stone at the moment. And right together, Nick Pfaff and Jointson going to be going at it. Will there be team orders at Aster Racing throughout this season? There may well be. They'll have to tell, because I tell you, Nick Pfaff will be keen to get back up there into the top of this championship and really push. He's been successful, of course, in TCR Cup at MotorMotion E-Series. Yet to find the accolades I think he really wants. In the GT3 Championship, he's got 10 rounds ahead of him to do so. 50-minute race today as well, so plenty of time as we head into turn 1 again. And it is going to be Luke Stone making the overtake from what we can see into turn 1 on Nick Pautasso. Yeah, Nick, you've been overtaken, you've been pipped there.
Yeah, no, that was a simple textbook move there for Luke Stone, and for me just to back off. I'm on a different strategy compared to Luke Stone. I knew he was on those soft tyres from the beginning of that race, the margins that he's closing in, and then now getting pressure from the other Nick Pfaff in the RCZ. So I've gone a little bit defensive there, but he just bowls to the inside line, and yet again, I'm not really fighting this off. I know I'm on a different strategy, so I just concede the position, give Nick Pfaff P4. Matthew Jones, as he gets onto the gravel there, and there I see myself fighting back up into Lesmo 1. Do I get the move done? I do, actually. So I get that position back of Nick Pfaff, and Matthew Jones, the two RCZs are really honing in on the Mad Turtle Mercedes-Benz. But then down the back in P7, Scott Taylor's becoming a little bit of a bottleneck and creating a second half of the field. And there you go, a half-second penalty, and he's going to be dropping himself at least behind 1, 2, 3 cars behind even the Porsche.
Oh, that's painful. Of course, the penalty line, I do believe, sits on the straight down to Parabolica, the final corner, of course. As you can see, the yellow warning there. He'll be forced to deaccelerate soon in this race. He's running the racing soft tyres as well, so this is even worse because he needs to take advantage of this situation. It's not great news either, to be honest, for Water Arrow. He'll get one position, but look, he's well out of slipstream range. The slipstream setting for this lobby and for the season is going to be real, so they will have a little bit of slipstream. It's certainly no massive advantage being given. We want to, of course, replicate as much as possible real-life racing scenarios. There goes, I believe, Jointson and Pfaff on Nick Pautasso. So he is going to be overtaken, double overtaken. But as you've alluded to, Nick, you're on a different strategy at the moment. You're going to be focused in a different direction. Let's go round the grid because it is going to be Water Arrow from McCullum, and they're nearly going to be side by side in here. Scott Taylor has had a reasonably decent start. He is in 9th place, and look who's right behind them. It's the 24 car.
Yeah, Nick Roberts doing a really good job to stick with the back of these cars. The Porsche has not been a very strong car in these recent updates in GT7. It's not really strong. It's very good on the fuel economy, very decent on its tyre wear, but it needs to cling on to someone just to really help with that slipstream advantage, because you can see there the BMW being led by the Ferrari, an all-round great car. So watch out for drivers like McCallum and Matt Donetti when he races in the elite class, obviously missing here tonight, but watch out for that Ferrari to be a really strong contender. Then we have Riley Nicholson in Water Arrows. His teammate Ando Scott is actually not racing here tonight, so he's the sole Hasel1 Motorsport driver representing the pro class. So, but you look at the BMW and the Ferrari and the GDR, the top three cars you're kind of looking at to be the contenders when it comes to this race, as well as the Supra and Mercedes. So a whole wider variety here, George, because there's a lot of concepts that people have their mindsets when it comes to picking their cars, what track it's good at, their disadvantages. So far, it seems to be quite an even playing field.
Oh, I think we just saw Spark have a real moment on the exit of Ascari. Nearly loses the rear end of the Porsche, and of course he needs to look after that rear end. Does burn up the rear tyres absolutely ridiculously, quite similar to the NSX actually in the way it behaves with the tyres. So keep an eye on the Porsche. Does not want to be sliding left or right. Certainly does not want to be oversteering at all. Otherwise he'll be in tyre trouble relatively quickly. Let's look around the rest of the grid. Behind the top 10 it is Airborne. So he is there in, of course, the Porsche as well, followed by Big Bruce the Shark. He started on the medium tyres as well, so maybe a bit of communication happening between the Mad Turtle racing cars, Chris Farapapa and Dub Zito. Bringing up the rear, Dub Zito, though, for Lightning Motorsport, is quite a long way back. Not the start they would have wanted. Of course, two pro drivers, you've got to feel for them a little bit here. Tricky in those early stages of pre-season when you're trying to gather up the drivers, trying to see who's available, who wants to race, who can race consistently, who's going to work well, Nick, within the team environment.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's great to see that the recruiting of the team bosses that have been able to get their drivers that they want. It's been absolutely pinnacle for this championship. Obviously, we do unfortunately not see an elite driver in the Lightning Motorsport camp, so that's why they've had to rely on both Chris Farapapa and Michael Brill to be the headlines of this team. As we see something happen in the background there. That's Matt McCallum into the barriers there on the exit of Lesmo 2. A bit of a tail snap there on the rear end, just got on the AstroTurf and into the barrier on the right-hand side, and unfortunately for him, that's damage on his car. That's his day done and dusted. He's going to have to come into the pit lane, transfer through the pit lane, change tyres, fix the damage. It's going to drive him all the way down to the back of the field there. But what I was caught thinking out as well there, George, I'm seeing a lot of drivers. It's not just the Mad Turtle cars. There's a few drivers running on that racing medium as well. So they feel that the soft tire is not going to be a durable tire to run at least half distance.
Well, let's talk about the strategy for a little bit. We're on the fourth lap of this race. We're 7 minutes into our Season 3 coverage. Strategy is going to be playing probably less of a role as it did in the TCR Cup, which was the season we just ran before this. Manufacturer Masters, probably a similar situation. Of course, no tuning in that at all. It was BOP conditions all the way through. So let's talk a little bit about strategy. I've heard through the rumor mill, they've heard people talk about a one-stop being possible. I've heard most people say that the two-stopper is the way to go. What is the combination here? Obviously, the racing soft tires have got to make it. Goodness, I mean, probably it's got to make it at least 20 minutes in this race, surely.
Yeah, so there is a difference. So there are a few strategies here. There's three alternate strategies. There are drivers like myself, the Mad Turtle camp, as well as Glenn Mead and Big Bruce the Shark, running on the medium tires. We're looking to stretch these tires out. Oh, so get a bit of a snap there on the exit of the Della Roccia chicane there. So that's some style points there for Mad Turtle Racing. So it's great. So there's some interesting strategies being involved. So the Mad Turtles, myself and Glenn Mead, running on the racing mediums because we feel that the soft tire doesn't last as long on this Mercedes-Benz. It really just burns through its front tires very, very quickly compared to all the other cars. And the GTR as well, very heavy on the front. So you're going to be seeing a lot of drivers really trying to be careful through these fast winding corners, just backing off the corner, braking earlier, going through higher gears to really save these tires. But one of the strategies is that racing medium and running for you're looking at around about half race distance, lap 14, lap 15. So you're looking almost in the 30-minute range, and then for a 20-minute sprint on the racing soft tires. The other one is the racing softs, just half race distance, 25 minutes. on the racing soft, just pit in, full tank of fuel, and then go in for another 25 laps. But then there is a two-stop strategy. This is an interesting one here, and I've been hearing around some rumor mills that the two-stop would have been the actual favorable strategy for some of our drivers here, because they're going, what the idea of this, George, it's full send with the car on the tires and the fuel, so just really burn the car as much as it can through its tires and fuel life. So then when you come into the pit lane, the second time you come into the pits, you actually can do the same thing again, and you actually get the jump on the undercut. But the problem is the pit transit time is quite a long deficit here. You're looking at around about 35 to 40 seconds with the transit time. So really keep an eye on those, that if the two-stopper works, it can work for some. If it works for, if Gopi Mahendrajit and Gridline Racing do a similar strategy to that, it could throw up a whole can of worms for absolute spice here.
Well, I was going to say, this is, with such a fast, long straight, it's so long, and with a lot of straights where the cars are very, very rapid, it's a higher average car speed here than a lot of other tracks that we're going to go to. I mean, like Brands Hatch, you're constantly into a corner. So the pit loss here would it would kind of steer me towards thinking a one-stop strategy is going to be the way. If that's not the case, and there is a two-stop strategy available, it will depend massively on the lap times you're able to do. Mahendrajit currently in a 148.445 as we continue to watch the battle. For fifth place, Matthew Joynson getting a little bit loose over the curbs in Ascari, giving Nick Pedasso an opportunity down the inside. Towards Parabolica we go, and this could be a nice overtake into the final corner of the circuit. Great history here. This corner has been renamed. It's no longer known as Parabolica. Of course, it is now known as... Oh, I don't have it up on my screen here. That's a real shame. Someone in chat will let me know. And, oh, Nick, that wasn't ideal.
Yeah. I ran wide on. I was making the move on Matthew Joyce. I just outbroke myself. Just realised that I wasn't on a soft tyre. Just realised I was on medium, and yeah, just a little bit. Just overshot the corner by a few meters compared to Matthew Joynson. So I just thought, man, I just got to tuck back into the slipstream. I said, go for the inside move there. A little bit of contact made. We're still hanging around the outside. Oh, he loses the rear end there, and he concedes 2 positions to both myself and Water Arrows in Riley Nicholson down in P7 for Hasel1 Motorsport, position 6 rather. So that's Matthew Joyce from 5th to 7th in one corner.
Oh, I can't wait till you have a you're going to the stewards for yourself moment in this series. I feel like at some point it may happen. If I was driving, it would certainly happen. I'd be taking out people left, right, and center. That's how I drive, unfortunately. That's why I don't drive. That's why I do commentary. Yeah, so at the end of the day, not great for Matthew Joynson, but he's still in the slipstream range. The front lefts, in fact, both the left-hand tires looking pretty much in a bad shape. So he's not going to be doing particularly well through the right-hand corners. So keep an eye through the exit of Ascari. That's kind of where he lost it initially, just due to that small mistake that you had made there. Led him back through at Parabolica, but it was all over relatively quickly. Scott Taylor and the famous 0.5 second penalties continues his run of form. TCR Cup, we saw it play an effect on the overall teams championship, and now unfortunately again he's picking them up hand over fist. The GTR is a bit of a beast. I love this car to bits. Some aren't a fan. It's a heavy vehicle to be dealing with at a track like this, where you really need to be nimble in those low speed corners.
Yeah, absolutely. And when Gridline Racing chose the GTR, who came knocking on his door? Gopi Mahendrajit. This is one of his prime cars. This is the car that he grew up with ever since he was on GT Sport. I believe in the older games he was running on the Nissan GTR as well. But anytime I saw him in the Nissan GTR, when it comes to time trials, when it came to daily races, when it comes to league races, you put him in a GTR in any game, in any platform, he's going to be an absolute weapon. So when Gridline Racing picked the GTR, they only had one man to call, and plus Gopi Mahendrajit has a short history with Gridline Racing, obviously being the champion for the manufacturer Masters, running in the Ferrari and the Gridline Racing Ferrari 458 Italia. So it could be a sign of things to come in season 2025 for the GT3 Championship, but Gopi Mahendrajit is up there in position 1 in that Nissan.
Yeah, look, we know that Gopi Mahendrajit is one of those world-class drivers. He's got Nismo in the name, essentially. So he is he's got Nismo in the blood, from what we can tell. So he is a man that loves this car. He's familiar, very familiar, in fact, with all of these tracks. The question is going to be, do all the tracks favor the GTR throughout the season, or is Gopi Mahendrajit's inherent skill going to bring him all the way through? Still holds the fastest lap of the race, as we see a southerly or northerly wind at the moment, 2.2 meters per second, heading basically into a pretty nice spot for the final corner of the race. Not necessarily as ideal, as you get a side draft into turn 1, so conditions holding steady at the moment. We are on lap 8 of round 1. Mahendrajit leads from Lewis Atkinson, and Hooncorp Esports off to a strong start in their elite category. Then it is the leader of pro category at the moment. It is the 53 car. It is Luke Stone, who made those early moves. The Racing Soft tyres really helped to elevate him early on in this race, but look, he's got a shark behind him. It is Nick Pfaff, not faffing about. He never faffs about, in fact, and the number 92 car in the elite category is making some waves and making his way back up to the rear bumper of Luke Stone, who escaped early on. But looking at the tyre life there, looks like Luke Stone is running a bit of a deficit compared to the Aster Racing RCZ.
Yeah, but you also want to look out for those rear tyres on the RCZ. They burn through very quickly. So you're going to be looking around lap 10, lap 11. These tyres they will start to burn really, really fast. So he needs to really control the rear end of the RCZ if he wants to be able to make the half race distance, which we're looking at around about 27, 28 laps for our drivers here tonight. As you can see, a full cut of the first chicane up the Della Roggia and then a second chicane. It is very, very fine margins here. And that's probably why we're seeing Scott Taylor pick up a lot of half seconds, especially through that first chicane. The second chicane of the Della Roggia. It is very tight, very narrow, but he gains so much time there. He's right on the rear bumper as we go on board with the Aster Racing 92 Peugeot RCZ, just coming down towards the back straight up through to Ascari, going under the old bridge where the old circuit used to be. Stopped operating since the 1960s, and when they moved to this permanent racetrack on the Monza calendar. Through Ascari, gets a nice entry and exit there. The RCZ feels absolutely planted. It's a little bit hairy in the Toyota Supra, so the RCZ does stick down, but there's one thing that this car really has: its ability to slipstream a driver. It is so low to the ground, and the slipstream effect that this car can have is absolutely wicked with the RCZ. So you're going to be able to see him right approach on the back end of Luke Stone. Obviously, Nick Pfaff, the elite driver, sitting third in class with Luke Stone, third overall, but P1 in the pro class, as we see at the onboards right now of Nick Pfaff trying to go for the move on towards Luke Stone, looking at the rear wing of the Hooncorp Esports Toyota. Will Nick Pfaff go for the move here, or will he start to stick behind in the first chicane? He sticks his nose out late on the brakes there, sends the move on the Hooncorp driver and pulls an absolute welter there.
That's a fantastic move. Well done to Nick Pfaff. Pulls himself up into third position in this race, and it does, I mean, that sound of that RCZ honestly reminds me a lot of the VW Beetle GR3 car, which I used to drive. That was the first Group 3 car that I put my hands on, and it feels it's got that same sort of body language, very stiff suspension, very flat and planted to the ground, low ride height. Fantastic. I love cars that feel like that, so maybe I should give the RCZ a try at some stage or another. I was going to actually make a comment on the ability of the RCZ to slipstream. I was going to say, well, actually, he's got a Supra ahead of him. Supra is not as dominant with that top speed as it has been in the past. I mean, if you had given teams a choice with no lockout of a particular car, and we were maybe, let's say 12 months ago with the Supra, everyone would be in the Supra.
Absolutely, it would have been a one-make championship, this one. Everyone would have picked Supra. There would have been a lot of team bosses fighting. Whoa, very hairy a moment there.
Oh, nearly into the back and nearly got spin round. Nick Pfaff a little bit slower through Ascari, and Luke Stone was just absolutely planted through there. Does somehow manage to control the car, so Nick Pfaff showing us his car control and was able to avoid a massive spin there, despite being nearly rear-ended and turned around by the Supra, but he'll have another go again back on the main straight.
Yeah, but it was more of the tyres on that RCZ really burning out. So if we go on board with Nick Pfaff, we can see how much his tyre was actually pulling through. So he makes the move clearly before the entry onto turn 1. Will Luke Pfaff have a response Luke Stone have a response going into turn 1. No, he doesn't, so he sticks behind. But you can see those rears there. They are absolutely cooking. And when it got to Ascari, he just had a little bit of a loose moment there to the RCZ driver. So he won't be too far off coming into the pit lane. He's looking at that magic number of 20 minutes. But then again, if he's committing to a 2-stop or not, we did see his teammate Matthew Johnson come into the pit lane only a couple of laps ago as well. So he feels that the car is viable for a 2-stop strategy. So Nick Pfaff maybe trying something a little bit different here, maybe trying to throw in an alternate strategy for this race.
All right, let's take a little look around the grid as this battle does start to now cool down. We're heading towards pit stops in short order. Lap 11, it is Nick Pautasso in 5th position for Mad Turtle Racing, followed by Water Arrow in the number 7 Hasel1 Motorsport car. Then it is Spark. A little bit in the doldrums at the moment for the Porsche. The rear tires are okay-ish, but the left's obviously taking a beating with a lot of right-hand corners, especially through the Lesmos. Very medium to high speed. Puts a lot of pressure on those left-hand tires. Then it is Campbell Knowles airborne for the Porsche. So these two teammates running line astern at the moment. Behind them it is Big Bruce the Shark. The medium tires, I have to admit, lasting quite a lot longer than I was expecting. We'll talk a little bit about how these guys on the medium tires will fare shortly. Chris Farapapa rounding out the top 10, setting a personal best on his previous lap, 151.6. Then it is Dub Zito. He's made up a couple of positions. It's the reason for that, of course, is that we have Matthew Joynson, who has pitted for fresh softs. Then it is McCallum and GLR Scotty also on the fresh soft. So talk to us a little bit about what we're seeing in terms of these pit stops.
So basically we're kind of looking at these drivers, both Matthew Johnson and Scott Taylor, running the 2-stop strategy. So what they're looking at is they're running to 10 laps, around about 9 to 10 laps. So what they're looking for, fresh set of tires and filling the car up only 75% or less than 75%. So what that means for the drivers sitting behind the wheel of both the GTR and the RCZ is foot to the floor, maximum traction on through the chicanes, through Rettifilio, Della Roggia, and through Ascari. So this is going to gain them lap time, but it's also what's helping them is helping them with track position. So this is a very strong undercut that these two drivers are putting on. So watch for these two when the others come into the pit lane very soon. These guys will have a much better advantage by coming out ahead of their competitors.
Little moment there on the exit of turn 1. That's technically turn 2, if you want to call it that. Variante de Rettifilo. Fantastic. I love pronouncing Italian names. I'm not very good at it, but I do give it my best try. Just something about it rolls off the tongue. But a little moment there for Joynson, does recover the car, gets the power down nicely. And actually, it's funny you mentioned this sort of go for broke 2-stop strategy. It's exactly what we saw Gopi Mahindra do in the Ferrari round 1 trial mountain at Manufacturer Masters earlier in the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's what could be on a strategy right now. We're just going over 21 minutes. Does he veer right into the pit lane? No, he goes for another lap here. So this is very interesting. And you can look at that tyre wear. Now you can see his lap times dropping a 1 minute 50.280. If we try to look back at what Lewis Atkinson is doing, you can see that what he's got consistency in the 1 minute 49s, and his tyres are looking in much better condition here. So the Supra, all of a sudden, throughout all its years being a very bad car on its tyre wear and fuel, Lewis not really known to be a driver on saving tyres and fuel. I feel like he might be learning about characteristics here, about how to drive a GT3 car, especially in this style of racing. So he's actually doing a really good job saving the fuel, saving the tyres, and running in consistent laps with under 1 minute 49. While Gopi Mahindra, as he sets a purple first sector, struggling on the fronts.
Yeah, so this is fascinating. Lewis Atkinson going to be making up a lot of time here to his competitor ahead of him. Not too far up the track either. I'd guess that the gap is probably somewhere around 7 seconds. We shall see, but Lewis Atkinson, no stranger at Hooncorp to the Supra. He's run many a series where it has been the meta car, so to speak. It's been the favorable car. It's been the car to be in, so he has a lot of experience in this beast, and a lot of those series he's running have had very heavy fuel and tire requirements. Behind him, of course, Luke Stone. We've just seen Water Arrow come in and out of the pits. He's now on racing soft tires, rejoins in last place, the only Hasel1 car on the grid today, unfortunately. Behind him, Faf running low on fuel, running low on tires, got to be a pit stop in a few moments' time. So I think we're just on the cusp of seeing these guys all come into the pit. Then we've got the medium runners. Nick, at this point, your tires are fine. You're fuel saving a little bit there. You've definitely got more than Nick Pfaff, that is for sure. So what's the mindset here? We've talked about the 22 or 21 minute period for the soft runners. The medium runners going to be running there for another 5, 6, 7 minutes?
We're looking at around about 27, 28 minutes. So we're looking around about lap 15, lap 16. That's what we've been calculating at Mandatory Racing as we see Nick Pfaff rather, coming into the pit lane. But we saw there on his lap time 1 minute 51.5 versus the medium tire of myself, a 1 minute 50.2. So the wear on the mediums is looking really looking very low degradation, but it's coming back to the car. It's coming back to us that in a way that we're actually able to push and lean on these tires a lot more, unlike some of the drivers in the MR cars, such as the RCZ, the Porsche 911, and the Honda NSX. Well, actually, incidentally, both Honda NSXs running on the racing medium. So they push a little bit too much on those rears. So I'm very keen to see what Nick Pfaff actually chooses when he comes out of the pit lane here. Will he throw on another set of soft tires, but nurture them a little bit more? Or maybe, just maybe, he might throw on a different set of compounds.
Ooh, interesting. Well, I guess when you do the two-stopper, you've got a little bit more choice in that strategy.
Absolutely. So if you're doing a two-stop strategy, you just throw on softs. You're basically running to a third of the race. So you're looking at around about, I don't know, 17 minutes each stint. So you're looking at those kind of lap times, and you're looking at that those intervals, saying, all right, 17 minutes, 18 minutes, throw on another set of soft tires, fill the car up to how much I want, which is going to be 60, 70 litres of fuel, and then go again. So and that's exactly what Matthew Johnson and Scott Taylor are running at the moment. Even Riley Nicholson for Hasel1 Motorsport, he's looking at that two-stop strategy as well. So very interested to see how these guys go. So we see now the leader of Gopin Mahinajit and Lewis Atkinson, who has done a very masterful job on the fuel saving, 8% versus Gopin Mahinajit's 2% of fuel. So this could become really close on pit exit.
Yeah, this is going to be fantastic. So it's going to be key. How much fuel are they going to put in? I think arguably fuel is relatively cheap in this series. You don't have to be worried too much about how much time you're spending in there, but 3 times fuel, so every litre is going to cost you time out on track. You've got to be aware of that. Nick Pautasso, the man in the commentary box next to me, has taken the lead of this race on lap 15 as the medium runners start to jump their soft tyre running counterparts on track. There goes Lewis. Mahinajit is already out of the pits on 100 litres of fuel, but they're really close on track. Here comes Chris Farepapa to ruin the party in a way. He's going to go in between them and become the ham in the ham sandwich. Luckily for Gopi, he's actually got out ahead, so that's exactly where he wants to be. Only got the 2 medium runners ahead of him, whereas unfortunately for Lewis Atkinson, he's got a Honda in there between him. He will have big tyre advantage on the softs again, as is Gopin Mahinajit. So 2 stints on the soft tyre, followed up probably by another soft stint, most likely. We shall see. But critical moments here in this race, and Farepapa has found himself probably a little bit out of position and the cork in the bottle.
Yeah, absolutely. But you could see what happened in the pit lane there. Lewis Atkinson actually put less fuel in the car. So because he saved so much fuel in that first, and he can afford to put less fuel in the car, Gopin Mahinajit could not. So that's why he's a lot closer to the rear end of the Nissan GTR. But unfortunately there, as he gets a poor exit, does Chris Farepapa, which gives Lewis Atkinson and that straight line speed of the Toyota Supra pass and zooming past the Lightning Motorsports NSX as he tucks right behind the rear wing of the Hooncorp driver. No fair, I would say basically no fighting with those 2 drivers, totally on 2 different strategies there. But Lewis Atkinson is really putting himself on the back end of Gopin Mahinajit as we see the first of the medium runners and myself, 4 litres of fuel coming into the pit lane. I'm wondering if my teammate Glenn Mead is going to stay out for another lap. I believe he's actually looking to stay out 1 more lap, but you look at the lap counter there, 28 minutes. So we have a very fast sprint coming in with these soft tyres coming onto the car.
You do indeed. It's going to be about 22 minutes out there, which we know the softs can make it all the way through. We know that the fuel can make it all the way through. Big Bruce the Shark has decided to stay out. Lewis now in chase after Gopi Mahinajit for the lead of the race. Then it is Matthew Joyntson on the racing soft tyres. He's been out there a fair bit longer than most others. Was the first one to come to the pits. And as Nick was telling us, the massive undercut has actually sent him leapfrogging past his teammate. GLR Scotty, of course, was also one of the earlier pitters. So both of these drivers slightly out of position. Technically speaking, Luke Stone is still in the box seat as we see a battle happening on track. Patasso has found his way, I think, past Nick Pfaff. Certainly these two battling, with Nick Patasso basically playing the reverse Uno card. Says, well, I was on the mediums and you were on the softs. Now I'm on the softs and you're on the mediums.
Yeah, absolutely. This was very close on exit. We were pretty much side by side coming into the first quarter as we see Nick Pfaff try to go around the outside. He can't do it there. I get a little bit deep into the corner there, but he just misses the corner, does Nick Pfaff, and that drops him all the way a few losing car lengths behind the Mercedes AMG, and that's unfortunately dropping him down to position 8 and conceding position 8. But this is a really big disaster for Aster Racing because Nick Pfaff was so high up there with Luke Stone, as we saw around lap 10, lap 11. The battle that he was having with Luke Stone, absolutely incredible. But now you look at the mini map, this is a huge difference.
Huge. I mean, they are separated by, I'd say, almost the entire Ascari chicane. They are, Nick Pfaff is behind now. So whatever's happened with the Aster Racing team today, they've lost a lot of positions early on here. As goes very close to the exit. Gravel. Don't want to be dipping a tire or two over the edge there. That's what can cause a very, very quick end to your race and a very sudden and rapid trip to the Shadow Realm. Into the pits comes Big Bruce the Shark for his pit stop. 4 liters of fuel on board for the pro category driver of the Mad Turtle Racing with the 999 number. Remember, in emergencies, dial 999 if you're in the UK, or for those of you who know the old IT crowd stuff, 011899. I won't do that. I do know the entire thing. Nonetheless, let's see how much fuel he's going to put on board as we see the rest of the field go on through. Water Arrow jumps on through. 69. Very nice. Love that number. Here we go. Water Arrow has passed him for P8 on the racing soft tires. Pfaff still dropping off the back of Nick Patasso, following Luke Stone, who's up in 5th position. Then it is GLR Scotty. Let's talk about Scotty for a minute here. Didn't have the greatest start, didn't have the greatest qualifying. Is he pulling something back here, or is this a sort of stretch in terms of the strategy he's executing today?
I think this is just quite a different strategy that he's approaching here tonight. Obviously, himself and Matthew Joyntson, they're really, I think of like they're just not finding much advantage with this 2-stop here. They are sitting up high, 3rd and 4th, but Scotty Taylor doing a really good job to try and stick close to Matthew Joyntson's. But I don't know, like they are going to have to come into the pit lane over the next couple laps as he does set a personal best. So his best of 49.561. Just under a second behind his teammate in Gopi Mahinajit, setting the fastest lap overall, 48.410. I feel like for Scotty Taylor, it's a very solid drive for the man in the 37 and the team boss of Gridline Racing, but it's just, I feel like the strategy is just not working out because he's got Luke Stone right behind, who was inheriting P3, but will come out still holding on to P1 in class, because Matthew Joyntson does lead the pro class at the moment, as we do forget about how the order runs. It is Gopi Mahinajit, Lewis Atkinson, and myself running 1, 2, 3 in class, but Matthew Joyntson leads the pro class ahead of Scott Taylor and Luke Stone in P3. But you can see Luke Stone is right there, and these two drivers have to come into the pit lane. So I actually don't really know where they're going to end up out of all of this, because you could look at the mini-map there. Everyone's kind of relatively close. Obviously, the advantages that Scotty Taylor and Matthew Joyntson will have: precious tyres and a low fuel tank.
Yeah, that's right. And the low fuel tank will obviously need to be filled up again. Joyntson running very, very low at the moment, whereas Scotty's got a little bit more left in there. We know that Joyntson really was trying the massive undercut. So he's gone for a brave strategy today. We'll see if it works out for him on the 18th lap of this race, 32 minutes into a 15-minute race for round 1. Timely reminder, of course, for those watching on TrackSpot TV or on the MotorMotion E-Series YouTube channel, please give us a like and a subscribe, leave a comment, and tell us what you're thinking in the chat or over on the Facebook page for MotorMotion E-Series. You can find all the information for the socials on the website www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com, and please do get involved in the brand new Discord server for MotorMotion E-Series. Jump on in. The community there is growing at a rapid rate. Of course, check out TrackSpot TV for all your broadcasting and commentary needs. Check us out on www.trackspot.tv. And of course, a big thanks yet again to Player1 Sim Gear for sponsoring the GT3 Championship. Check them out on p1simgear.com for all your sim-based needs, whether it's a flight simulator, a lawn mowing simulator, or a cleaning simulator, which I do believe exists these days. It's a strange world we live in.
Absolutely. It's always fascinating to see what goes on in this world. It's just the technology that you can bring into the world is absolutely incredible, and all the strange habits that you can bring into the sim world. But nonetheless, as we dissect away from the cleaning products and we go onto the rubber that is laying on the tarmac here in the beautiful countryside of Monza in Italy, we have Matthew Jones to come into the pit lane for his second stop. But Gopin Behindjic still leads ahead of Lewis Atkinson, going purple in that first sector. But you can see here on this mini-map, this short fill that Lewis Atkinson has done has really closed up on Gopin Behindjic, so much to the fact that we're looking at around about a 4 to 5 second gap there. So they have been coming up, exiting Lesmo 1 and into Lesmo 2. They are basically even quarters, these drivers, at the moment. Gopi's setting the fastest laps here, but this is what Gopi does. He really stretches out his fastest laps, and he really goes for that fast lap and really tries to keep it in that 1:48. But Lewis Atkinson, who I really am impressed with so far in this season, he's really learning about saving tires and running to a race number that he doesn't want to push the car to its absolute limit. He just wants to save the tires, so when he gets to the end of this race, hopefully he might be able to have a chance at cracking the Gopi Behindjic, I would say, position 1 at the moment. Obviously the defending champion for Lewis Atkinson, running number 1 and Gopin Behindjic number 2. He hopes it's going to be the role reverse, having the number 1 in position 1, demoting Gopi's number 2 into position 2.
Of course, it's been fantastic seeing Lewis evolve as a driver at MotorMotion E-Series since Hooncorp got involved. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was about 2 years ago or so we started to see them jump in for a couple of the series. They've been in the TCR Cup for 3 seasons now, so actually technically that's 3 years. So Hooncorp definitely making a name for itself within the ranks of the MotorMotion E-Series community, and Lewis has been a big part of that. As I understand it, he basically runs the MotorMotion E-Series division, and he's just been growing and growing as a driver. I think the MotorMotion E-Series stuff, as well as whatever other league racing he is doing, has just been showing him that the flat-out approach, going full send and pedal to the metal, is not a sustainable strategy for the thinking man's game of race engineering and race strategy. So he is growing into this role more and more. Great to see him back on the grid. What can you say, though, about Gopin Behindjic? World-class level driver, truly the elite, possibly the elite of elites, depending on where he finishes in this Series 1 champion, of course, to crown after 10 rounds of racing. Round 1 is 36 minutes gone for Group A. We'll have Group B coverage coming up after a short break once this has finished. Let's go through the grid again. 0.5 second penalty. Oh no, Luke Stone. That's not a good time to be getting it. I don't think it's going to cost him really at the end of the day, but just don't get penalties. Try if you can.
As easy said than done there, George. Especially around here at Monza, it is very hard, very fine margins. You could just cut a curb, you could just go all 4 tires over the white line, and you just pick up a half second. I really find the most difficult one is on the exit of Ascari here. So it's like when you exit Ascari and you get to that fast left-hander, you want to push yourself to the limit and really just cut the curb as much as you can on the inside, on the left-hand side. But you just go too much, and then that dreaded half-second penalty just appears on your screen. You're just praying. You're just like, please no, please no, please no. All of a sudden, you just see a red bar pop in front of your eyes, and you think, man, there goes my fastest lap. There goes my time gain advantage on the car ahead. But obviously with that 0.5 second of a penalty to Luke Stone, draws me in a little bit closer to the back of the Hooncorp drive. Still got a fair way to go, but it's quite almost half of the pit straight here at Monza. So Luke Stone is sitting pretty comfortable in position 3. It's P1 in class, myself P3 in class, Nick Pfaff down in position 5, who I believe has actually had a bit of a moment there. I've caught on my secondary camera, and we can see there he's actually got front splitter and front right suspension damage.
Oh dear, that's not good for Nick Pfaff in his attempts to keep up with Nick in 4th position. So you've seen it on the other side of your screen. What happened? What has he done? It looks like a typical oversteer moment, maybe through Lesmos into a barrier.
Yeah, absolutely correct. It is through Lesmo 1. So we're about to see him go through to the Retifilia and then now approach Lesmo 1. So what he actually did here, he got the entry point very nicely done. Hit the curb on the inside nicely done, but the car just understeered too wide there. The AstroTurf just speared him into the wall on the right-hand side. So that happened to him about 3 laps ago, and he's just been looking at that corner every single time thinking, right, let's not do this ever again. But unfortunately, with heavy damage on this car, you don't want to take that risk. He is on the racing medium tyres though, so he is stretching this out right up until the end here, but there is a shark behind in Big Bruce the Shark in Glen Mead, who is charging him down so fast and on fresh soft tyres, and also bringing Campbell Knowles with him.
Yeah, don't bring Campbell Knowles with him. He's with you. He is a fantastically quick driver, very good on the defensive driving, and will overtake you, even if you are a big shark. Whether you are Brucey or one of the other ones, as part of that Finding Nemo movie, I think is where the reference comes from. But either way, Campbell Knowles will be fierce out there, and certainly early on, the Porsche will be very good on its tyres, and then of course they'll start to drop off. So really, early is when you need to be thinking about making a move if you are Campbell Knowles. Yeah, we do have to note as well with Nick Pfaff that, well, let's just put it this way. If it could have gone worse, it could have gone worse. But luckily for him, it's not. With the medium tyres, he can still run fairly deep into this race. And maybe you just take that. Maybe you take that as a commiseration at this point. You're still going to be pulling in great points for an early finish like this. It is Monza. We know how tight it is here. We know how easy mistakes can be made. So do you take that?
Yeah, absolutely not, because you look at the lap counter, you got look at the race time, 40 minutes, just over 40 minutes, so we've got less than 10 minutes to go to the end of this race. A 50-minute race set up on the drivers here in both Lobby A and Lobby B as our time limit. So you're looking at around about 5 laps. So if Nick Pfaff can hold on for these last 5 laps, there's no need to come into the pit lane, because you can see the gap between himself and Glen Mead in position 6. It's quite a comfortable lead, but that will diminish over the next 2 to 3 laps.
Certainly will. So at the moment we are looking at Luke Stone leading pro category. 2 categories, of course, in Group A, Elite and Pro. Pro category leader is Luke Stone, followed by Bruce the Shark, fighting with, I think Airborne is actually Elite. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just looking for the sticker. He is the Elite driver for Black Rose Racing.
Is the next car.
That's right. So Spark is their pro driver who's been brought along. So Brucey is 2nd overall in the pro category. So that's gone very nicely for Bruce the Shark. He's executed the strategy well. Finds himself, of course, on the faster tyre at the end of the race. This was the plan from Mad Turtle Racing. Certainly seems to be working out from the point of view of these guys, because you're both on the podium for your respective categories.
Absolutely. And you also have to tip the hat off to Glen Mead. He started P11 at the end, and so he was started outside the top 10. So running on the medium tyres at the beginning of the race obviously seemed to be a bit of a interesting call for his side of the garage, because he actually could hold on to those soft tyres for over half race distance, but he decided to stick with the medium tyre strategy, and it's worked out in his favour. Saved a lot of fuel, managed those tyres very well, leaning on them as much as he could, and he's running up in P6 with the potential in the closing stages of this race to move up to P5. So that'll be what are we looking at on our quick maths? We're looking at around about an extra 5 positions made there.
Sorry, that is, apologies from me, a reaction that shouldn't have been a reaction. It was actually just him going through the Della Roggia chicane. It looked like for a moment there, Nick, that Nick Pfaff was sideways, backwards, upside down, and out of this race completely, but no, he is actually okay. So never mind, I redact my previous comments. Lap 23, we've got 7.5 minutes to go to the end of Group A, and there'll be a bunch of points, of course, on offer. Now, talk to us a little bit about the point structure. There's going to be some extra points awarded to some of these teams today.
Yeah, absolutely. So the pro driver, so the elite drivers score the points that they normally score. So they get 35 points for a race victory, and I believe it's 2 points for pole position and 1 for the fastest lap. So making a total of 38. I believe that's the structure. Then also with the pro drivers, still the same point structure that we have with the drivers. But what we've been seeing over the past few seasons in the GT3 Championship, every time a pro driver outscores an elite driver, they get themselves a bonus point. They get themselves an extra bonus point of where they finish off, depending on how many drivers that they have passed, so how many elite drivers he's passed. So Luke Stone, leading the way in the pro class, sitting position 3, is ahead of myself as one of the elite drivers. Nick Pfaff, another one. Campbell Knowles in position 7. And I believe that must be the last one. So he's going to get himself a 3 extra bonus points here if Luke Stone can hold on to this position.
This is why it's so important to work together as a team throughout these MotorMotion E-Series challenges. A big focus on team culture, team responsibility, and responsibility to the overall race. Only the top-level RCA teams allowed in for this event. That's why you're seeing all the familiar names return for this. They've competed in the Carrera Cup. They've competed in the Manufacturer Masters. They've competed in TCR. They've been building up the RCA levels all the way through. And I believe we do have a new RCA level, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 team here. I'll double check that with Jeff, but I think there is a new team here. Let me just try and figure out exactly who that is. It's not Hasel, it's not Lightning Motorsport. We'll do some thinking on that one and see.
It's Mad Turtle Racing, the level 1 RCA.
There we go, level 1. So I got it backwards.
So that's why you got me, George. That's why I'm here. I'm one of the elite drivers here for Mad Turtle Racing. But yes, throughout its campaign, they have finally decided to get themselves make themselves a very serious threat in MotorMotion E-Series. Obviously, Mad Turtle Racing, very popular team and a very famous team amongst the MotorMotion E-Series category, as well as other racing leagues that they do outside of Tuesday nights racing at MotorMotion. So obviously, Mitch Gray, the team boss of Mad Turtle Racing, obviously very well known for his famous liveries with his decals of the Mad Turtle on the back there and his 400 plus decals on the side of the car, just to try and create that Mad Turtle logo. It is quite astounding of how he manages to get this car to look absolutely pristine no matter what. But yes, he is one of the brand new team owners. I believe I cannot remember from the last seasons who he took that RCA off. I will have to look back through our archives just to see who he took it off. But obviously through all the social media presence, the attendance being quite strong at Mad Turtle Racing in both the TCR, Manufacturer Masters, the what else we're looking at, the Porsche Cup as well throughout its previous seasons. They were recognised as a team that could receive that level 1 RCA. So basically, the way to attain that is you just have to bring a team in, compete, show them why you are the best of the best, and have a good social media presence to earn yourself on the track.
Indeed. And I believe the team that we are missing here is Diffusion Race Engineering. So the Kiwi team is missing from the grid. They've been a staple in the last 2 seasons of the Player1 SimGear GT3 Championship. So Diffusion Engineering not present on the grid. In fact, we haven't really seen them too present throughout the 2025 series here at MotorMotion E-Series. So obviously a bit of a shame to lose such a team. Because they have been here for a long time. We got so familiar with their green and black liveries, usually with the Kiwi flag hidden in there somewhere. But nonetheless, that is how things go. And if you it's a lot of effort to run a team. That's the truth of it, and we know that. Both of us know that. I've tried to run my own team in the past as well. Has it worked out well for me? Not particularly well. Here we go, a bit of a battle going on in the last spot for P10. Oh, that is close to the barrier there. I think that was one of those, it was very close situations as they go 3 wide across the finish line. It is Jointson, Airborne. No, it's not Airborne, it's Jointson, Scotty, and Spark all battling it out for what is currently 8th position on the race. Side by side into turn 1 we go. Nice cut through there by Jointson. He's on the racing softs, as is GLR Scotty. GLR should actually have a bit more grip here, but he's been pipped by the RCZ.
Yeah, that's a 2-for-1 deal there for Matthew Johnson and Aster Racing at the back, caught the back end of that of the live action from what we saw with these three cars battling out the Exeter Parabolica. What a move by Matthew Johnson to get into that slipstream and really run it right off the track. Obviously, you don't get track limit penalties. Unfortunately, Scott Taylor, another half-second penalty. Obviously, the dreaded half-second penalty, as George mentioned early in the broadcast, of what could have been a costly error in his TCR campaign. It's basically he got himself really far wide, but it was almost a three wide moment going into the first chicane to the Resifilio chicane. He was so close, but Nick Spark did the right thing and pulled out of it and say, "I'm not being a part of this action." These are the two stoppers coming back, and you can see where they are, George, on this track map here. You can see Matthew Jones in position 8, Scott Taylor in position 9. They don't have much gain from it.
Oh no, okay, so that's Scotty Taylor off track. He's missed the apex at the second part of the Ascari chicane, sent himself wide, add the 0.5 second penalty to it as well, and he's finding himself out of the slipstream range of Spark and Jointson. Spark, who's got so little left in his fuel tank and on the racing softs, whereas Scotty's got so much in the tank. He's overfueled the car, he's got way too much tyres left at the end of this race, and he's making some small mistakes which are starting to cost him. Water Arrow starting to make his way back up to his rear wing as well after that mistake. Jointson putting pressure now on Airborne. Airborne suffering on racing soft tyres that are worn out completely. It's the easiest overtake I think we've seen of the evening, and rear damage for Campbell Knowles. So that rear diffuser in an MR car, when it's got damage and you've got bad rear tyres, oh dear. Welcome to the ice skating rink.
Oh, absolutely. But if we look up the front there, Nick Pfaff has lost that position to Glenn Mead. So while I thought Nick Pfaff actually had a comfortable position in position 5, he's lost out to Glenn Mead on the final lap as well. So he got the move done. As we can see, Nick Pfaff run it over the gravel trap. This is going to be the final lap for most of these drivers. But if we look up to, if I could see on my mini map here, Gopin Mahinajit, we're looking at about 12 seconds to go. These guys are going to do 28 laps. It's absolutely incredible. Gopin Mahinajit and Lewis Atkinson take a bow. You guys are they're gonna do one more extra lap, but we have crossed the 50-minute marker. This is the final lap for the front two. Luke Stone is going to complete this lap, and he's going to be taking out the Pro Class victory.
Fantastic stuff. What a race. What an opening to Season 3 for Luke Stone and HoonCorp Esports in the Pro category, taking home what has become a fantastic bit of work. Has he finished the race? I don't think he has. He has finished the race. Yes, definitely finished the race. Across the line, Nick, well done to yourself. 4th position overall, and that's going to be 3rd as it stands right now in the elite category. A podium on your first outing. Fantastic stuff. And in fact, it's going to be a 4th and a 5th position with the overtake on the last lap of this race by Glenn Mead on Nick Pfaff. He's going to take 2nd in Pro Class, and that is going to be a fantastic 3rd and 2nd in the 2 categories for Mad Turtle Racing. Pfaff will come across the line in 6th, followed by Jointson, finishing line astern. A gaggle of cars, Airborne, and then Roberts. Cars. Scotty finishes in 10th position. Water Arrows in there. Chris Farepapa comes across the line. There's Dubzito, Michael Brill. So gaining 1 position there. And oh no, Matt McCullum has found himself in the wrong direction with CP Motorsports there in the Ferrari. Not ideal for him at all. But here we go. It's the last time we'll see these 2 cars on track at Monza. It's the 28th lap. We didn't expect it, but they were going so quickly. Look at the consistency of the lap times from Gopin Mahinajit. Look at the consistency of Lewis Atkinson for HoonCorp Esports. Fantastic work by both of these chaps. They are laying down the gauntlet for who is going to become our 1 champion at the end of 10 rounds of racing in Season 3. The checkered flag has been taken. Gopin Mahinajit take a bow, and Gridline Racing win the opening round for Group A, followed by Lewis Atkinson in 2nd place. Absolutely fantastic. Crikey. That was a very, very intense race there, Nick. break it down for us a little bit as we get ready to bring up the results. In fact, we do have the results ready already. So let's bring them up and we'll head through them and you can give us a little bit of perspective on what we've seen today. Here's your elite standings for the result of the race. Not the standings, this is the result for the race. Go from Mehedic, of course, comes across the line in first place. Lewis second. Nick Patasso in third place. And we can have a mini interview with him in a few moments' time. Nick Pfaff in fourth. Campbell Knowles sixth. Seventh for Andrew Scott. Sixth for Andrew Scott, sorry, because he did not race today. Matt Donetti also not racing today, technically seventh overall. And then, of course, as we know, no longer do we have 8 drivers in the elite category, only 7. Looking at the pro results, it is Luke Stone, wonderful victory, and third overall as well. What a job Luke Stone has done today, followed by Glenn Mead for Mad Turtle Racing. 32 points to his name at the beginning of the season is a great way to get things started. Matthew Joinson in third place for Aster Racing, followed by Nick Roberts. Scott Taylor in that gaggle of cars that we saw came across the line right at the end of this race as the soft runners caught back up to those on the mediums for the second stint of the race. Scott Taylor fifth in the pro category, followed by Riley Nicholson, Chris Vadopapa, and Michael Brill, who has the number of points equal to pro. We'll find out exactly how many points that is in a few moments' time. Nick, give us your breakdown of those results. At the end of the day, I think Luke Stone, one of the standouts, Gopi, standout, Lewis, standout. The top 3 performed excellently.
Yeah, absolutely. Those top 3 did a wonderful job, but I do have to give my hat to Glenn Mead there. Starting P11, finishing P5 overall and second in class. What a drive from the Mad Turtle driver. Obviously not trying to be biased myself, but I feel like we at Mad Turtle, us at Mad Turtle Racing had a very fantastic debut. On our debut for, not just for the RCA, for our first level entry of the RCA racing entitlement that we have, but also for my first time ever to actually be part of this championship. I've been so excited. I've been longing to be a part of this championship, and I really finally get to put myself on the track here amongst these legendary drivers. Gopi Mehedic, Lewis Atkinson doing 28 laps here while we all did 27. So that just shows you what competition we have here tonight. And obviously, unfortunately for the likes of Nick Pfaff, Campbell Knowles, both getting damage in the second half of this race, both really struggling to really get these cars up to speed. Obviously, at the first part of the race, Nick Pfaff did fantastic. He was right up there with Luke Stone, but just that second stint, throwing on the medium tyres, it did not work for the Aster Racing. And then to get damage on lap 18, I feel like Aster Racing have a little bit of work to do back at base camp to really hone in on their strategies there. It's been a tough day for both Nick Pfaff and Matthew Joinson.
Certainly has been, and we'll see if they can hone their understanding of the RCZ throughout the season and find a way to really challenge the guys at the top of the grid. We are going to do a very quick driver of the day, Nick, and I think there's some pretty clear candidates, but it's going to be a bit of a split, I suspect. So for those of you who are watching on YouTube at the moment or in the future, let us know in chat or in a comment who your driver of the day, who is your favorite driver today. Let us know. I think for me, I'm going to have to say Luke Stone, outstanding performance. So I'm just going to leave it straight at that. Great performance, victory in pro class to bring the season to a start. That's going to be my driver of the day. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, very strong pick of the driver of the day there, but I am have to be biased here, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, being a Mad Turtle Racing driver, I will give it to Glenn Mead there. P11 start, finishing up into P5, getting the last lap overtake on Nick Pfaff. Didn't need to make the overtake on Nick Pfaff. He was still running P2 in class, but he made it work on the final lap there. 11th to 5th in the Mercedes AMG. What a fantastic job from the 999.
Absolutely right. I thought you were going to pick yourself for a second there. Then I would have really been starting to dial up the pressure on the Mad Turtle drivers and livery designers as well. At notable times, we've had replays go past the GT7 upload limit because of the 5 million different elements of the Mad Turtle livery. It does look gorgeous, though, I have to admit. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that is your Group A Elite and Pro coverage for round 1 at Monza. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a few minutes' time, about 5 minutes' time, for your Group B coverage. And boy, oh boy, this is where Nick and I get excited because we all know Group B or Division 2 or Lobby 2, when it's got a 2 or a B in it, oh, we're there for the action. Stay tuned. We'll be right back in 5 minutes' time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Player1 Sim Gear GT3 Championship. It's time for Group B, the Pro-Am and Am Championship. Going to be kicking off in a few moments' time. Season 3, Round 1, and we return to Monza. Same conditions, similar track circuit conditions out there at the moment for this race. It's going to be an exciting one. We'll run through the qualifying session in just a moment time, and we will be giving you an update on the final standings and the top 3 of each of the driver categories and the team's title at the end of the stream. So make sure you stay tuned for the remainder of Group B. It's going to be spicy out there. We all know the Lobby 2 Group B Division 2 action is always some of the best at MotorMotion E-Series. For whatever reason that is, Nick and I get rather excited here in the commentary box. Of course, broadcasting today brought to you by Trackspot TV. My name is George Cook and I'm joined in the commentary box by Nick Tasso. Big thanks to Player1 Sim Gear for sponsoring the GT3 Championship. Go and check them out on p1simgear.com. And of course, check out MotorMotion E-Series, the league that we are obviously racing in today. www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com. Go and check them out. Plenty of stuff happening and being planned for 2026 already. Right, let's take a little look because we do have some qualifying results coming through our screens right now, and it is Expat Guilo. Interesting name, Expat. Some of you will be familiar with him in the Mercedes AMG. So for Mad Turtle Racing, finds himself on pole position, a 148.9, and Nick's probably chewing at the bit right now to get onto the microphone and talk to me more about how awesome Mad Turtle is. But that is another Mad Turtle Mercedes on the top spot. He's followed by Booster Blake in the Group 3 Supra for Hooncorp Esports, separated by 9/1000ths of a second in qualifying. Then it's Calculated Risk returning. Love Calculated Risk. He's a commentator's dream in terms of his name. He'll be driving a course for Black Rose Racing in the Porsche, qualified 3rd, followed by Abdul Ming for Hooncorp Esports. I believe he's the AM class driver. We'll double check on that. Someone can confirm, someone being Nick, of course. It is, let me just check that actually. Looks like Jack Finch, so interesting rename there. Nonetheless, the Supra. Then it is RPM in the Mercedes AMG GT3 car. It'll be the AM class driver for Mad Turtle Racing in 5th place. Then it is Jeff Bruin, very own league organizer and admin for the GT3 Championship. Finds himself in 6th position, followed by Hasel1, Mark Hasseldine, for the owner of Hasel1 Motorsport in the M6 GT3 Sprint model. 7/10ths down. Close qualifying between him and Aussie Psycho in the 458 Italia for CP Motorsports. In 9th position, it is RSR Robbo for the RCZ Aster Racing, getting themselves in the top 10. Then it's Legendary Berry for Black Rose Racing, rounding out your top 10. RBR Hogs in the RCZ for Aster in 11th. Blue Dog in 12th for Gridline Racing. Then it is Brits Lightning in the NSX and the Bundy Drop Bear in 14th. So again, Nick, 2 NSXs right down the bottom of the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great grid that we've got here in the Pro and Pro-Am. So yeah, unfortunately, the NSX still not looking to be a strong car. We saw Chris Fatipapa and Michael Brill really struggle with this car on this opening round. So it might just be the layout of the circuit itself. It just might feel like Monza might not be the strongest track for the NSX. So we'll hopefully see those drivers down in Pro-Am and Am class actually find themselves up towards the pointy end, hopefully at the end of this race and by the next few rounds of this championship. But yes, absolutely, it's good to see Expat, obviously known as Joe Rudinsky, in the Pro-Am class, actually taking that pole position. A very strong lap time, the only driver in the 1:48, and he only just beat the driver in 2nd place by only 0.009 of a second. So if we thought that the racing was huge in the elites and pro class with big gaps, man, oh man, Pro and Am class, these guys put us on another different level here.
Absolutely right. Well, we are looking forward to the Group B race ahead of us. It's time to head out on track. The cars are ready and we're going to go racing. We'll see you out there. Right, here we go. Rolling starts, of course, all the way through the season. And that is going to be an important category to keep in mind. And just make sure we don't have any antics off the start line. There are the lights. And we're away racing. Group B begins its Season 3 campaign at Monza. And what a run at the beginning for Expat. Gets away beautifully. Boosted Blake not getting quite the getaway that he needed to, under pressure already from calculated risk. In the background, it is RPM. And no, it is Jeff Bruin getting overtaken by Mark Hasel1 nearly. But the Gridline Racing driver in the GTR does manage to hold the line through turn 2. And away we go through Curva Grande for the first time. Robinson trying to make an attack on Aussie. So Aussie's going to be under a bit of pressure here early on. There goes Aster Racing trying to find that inside line into the Della Roggia chicane. It's a great place to overtake if you can make it, but you've got to get that car slowed down into the chicanes. Coming up ahead of them looks like lots of people getting through successfully. No, there goes RPM. He's off sideways as Hose does actually cut the corner, completely cuts the Della Roggia chicane, and Mad Turtle and RPM find themselves first and last on the grid as we head through Lesmo 2.
Yeah, great start there by Joe Rudinsky in P1, but unfortunately not a great start for Bob Massey there. Rotated, almost got himself into a full spin at the Della Roggia chicane there, but it's down at the back of the grid. A lot of work to do for the AM driver, as we saw there amongst the drivers there, Richard Robertson in the Aster Racing, really strong straight line speed early on in this stage of the race there, as well as Mark Hogan. The RCZ is looking very strong, and a great run there by the Porsche to get right up underneath the rear wing of the RCZ. So this RCZ really slippery in a straight line here, George, and this is why they have to get these overtakes done early, because the tire wear is going to absolutely murder these guys. So whether their strategy is going to be on par and similar to the drivers in Elite and Pros, we see an overtake done by legendary Berry we can see on Mark Hogan. It is going to be interesting to see the battle of the straight line speed. The RCZ will have the upper hand, but look at the cars behind. They are just queuing up here going into the first chicane.
Oh, it's going to be a concertina as we head into the braking zone at turn 1. The medium tyres on Hogan's car. Oh dear, Jeff Bruin has to make some avoiding action there on the outside line. It is trying to try the outside of turn 2. It's not going to work out for him at all, because now he's going to have Finch coming right back at him. In fact, actually, where is Jeff Bruin? He's actually up in 4th place. Sorry, that is his teammate. That is Blue Dog in the number 6 GTR. So apologies to our glorious leader. There we go, swinging to the outside. Mitch Collin wants a piece of the action too as we barrel towards a 3 wide nearly into the braking zone. Della Roggia chicane. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Wow, and they actually managed to sort that out calmly there, and then we can see the Graham Split and Blue Dog just get the switchback of dreams there. That is a textbook switchback there from the number 6 driver, but just gets it loose on the entry of Lesmo 1. This opens up the opportunity for Mitch Collins to dive down the inside of Lesmo 2. Oh, this is hair and mouth moment here. It's very tight on the exit there, but gets it done nicely. Does the Honda driver there. Beautiful move there, but we can see there Bob Massey and Jack Finch with a half-second penalty next to his name. These drivers that were down there, they were spinning around basically at Della Roggia. They are now trying to fight their way through this pack so quickly, but they have a lot of slow traffic ahead of them. Jack Finch does have that half-second penalty. Bob Massey in the second Mad Turtle Racing trying to claw his way back up towards the front there. This is what happens when you're one of the faster drivers down the order here. It is really tough to get yourself back towards the front of the field, because these drivers are battling for the keeps here of the bottom half of this race, of this lobby.
Exactly right. Of course, Mitch Collin, Pro-Am driver for Lightning Motorsports, versus currently the Blue Dog. Blue Dog, who is driving for Gridline Racing as their AM class driver up ahead. We do have some more side-by-side action. We'll try and swing the camera that way into the main first corner we go. Expat leading the way beautifully. He's got a bit of a gap. In fact, he's out of the slipstream range almost of Boosted Blake, who is off to a great start in this race, looking really smooth in the 747. Is a Pro-Am driver, of course, for the Hooncorp Esports team, followed by Calculated Risk, also a Pro-Am driver. So we've got Pro-Am drivers 1, 2, and 3 at the moment, followed by Jeff Bruin, also a Pro-Am driver. Hasel1, and that's Mark Hasel1, of course, the Pro-Am driver for his own team, Hasel1. Robinson in 6th position at the moment for Aster Racing, Pro-Am 2. Then it's Aussie GTR, who is leading the CP Motorsports pack at the moment in the Ferrari.
Yeah, so the top 7 that we're seeing on the track here, ladies and gentlemen, are your Pro-Am drivers. So the top 7 really doing a great job ahead of the AM drivers. So this is, in theory, what we would normally see in a real-world class allocations when it comes to seeing the Pro-Am drivers being ahead of the Am drivers. A very role reverse what we saw with Elite and the Pro class. So the top 7 running up in the Pro-Ams with a legendary Chip Berry, running up in position 1 in the Am class, right behind the 458 Italia of the CP Motorsports entry, behind Mark Hogan in the Peugeot RCZ in P2, and then we have Bob Massey, who was running up in P6 and had that half spin on lap 1, working his way up the order here and bringing along Jack Finch as well to the party.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Now, I'm seeing a very similar strategy being executed here by Mad Turtle Racing. Racing medium tires at the beginning might have played a little bit of a part in that spin at Della Roggia. He gets to basically, I don't want to say chill out, because he does need to drive quite quickly given his position in this race now, but there's an opportunity here to kind of maybe cool down a bit, get into your rhythm, and then really execute the strategy that the team has calculated.
Yeah, absolutely, and I don't think he's going to fight this at all. Obviously, he knows Jack Finch might be on a different strategy. You can see there, you can actually see on the exits, when you get that traction on the rear end of the Toyota Supra, it just really plucks to that second and third gear a lot quicker than the Mercedes, so it's able to get its power down a lot sooner. Looks for the fake move down the inside through Della Roggia. Very, very tricky to execute.
Whoa.
That runs wide on the second part. Just caught a bit of curbing on that first entry of the Della Roggia. That loses him so many car lengths to Bob Massey, so he has to work it again and has to claw back that time that he's lost to Bob Massey in P10. So just sitting out the top 10 is Jack Finch in the Hooncorp Esports. Well, we see one Hooncorp down the order in 11 players. Blake Williamson and Boosted Blake running very nicely in P2.
Indeed. So Expat leading from Boosted Blake with 4 laps in, 7 minutes gone in this race already. Personal best and personal best sectors being set by RPM at the moment. Has had a couple of moments throughout the track. Della Roggia doesn't seem to be a place that he's favoring at the moment. So back up the top with Boosted Blake, still going strong, but look at the gaggle of cars he's accumulated here. Jeff Bruin is coming back into the action, the Pro-Am class driver for Gridline Racing, a team he knows well, a team he's been with before, and maybe the access to the supercomputer has been tempting him as he attempts an overtake into the inside line into turn 1.
Yeah, the straight line speed of the GTR, just trying to get the move into the Retifilia. Can he outbrake him? He does. Oh, contact made, but that is calculated risk, taking a very calculated risk there to try and outbrake the GTR. Gets onto the grass there, half spins the car. Thankfully not to take out Jeff Bruin in position 3, but wow, that is a hard-in-mouth moment there for the Black Rose Racing driver.
Certainly is. I mean, he had plenty of space there. I don't think Jeff was squeezing him at all. Went for a sizable send down the inside, but nothing really to it at the end of the day. A small mistake and completely unforced error there for calculated risk, who didn't calculate the distance between him. Yes, we're doing this joke again, between himself, his tires, and the grass on the right-hand side of the track.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit risky there. It is very risky to try and outbrake the car that is going on the inside of you through Retifilia, because there's a little bit of the AstroTurf going into turn 1 and turn 2, but not so much that you can actually outbrake it, because you are actually braking onto the grass. We see Jeff Bruin sizing up another move. Oh, a bit of a bump there on Blake Williamson's Toyota Supra Hooncorp Esports entry. But you can see there, it's just got the braking performance of the GTR a lot stronger than the other cars here. Actually, I would have thought it was quite a weaker car, but Jeff Bruin's actually showing us that the braking mechanics of the Nissan GTR are very, very strong in these early stages.
Both on soft tires as well, so there's not a tire life issue going on there. Looks like Boosted Blake was just a little bit early into the brakes and wanted to have a better angle maybe on the X of Ascari to try and maximize the speed of his Supra against what he probably knows as the GTR monster that is roaring up behind him. He saw the big send that happened on the Black Rose Racing Porsche a lap ago, as we barrel now once again down into turn 1, and you can see the advantage the GTR has. What is going on? Is that the aero? Is it driver technique? Maybe the way he gets off the brake. Jeff Bruin, of course. Brake traction. Tell us more.
He's got a great traction, got a great exit on turn 2 there. So he's just looking to try and get back onto the rear wing of the Hooncorp driver. Will he think of a move going into the inside through Della Roggia? No, it's too far back there. You can fake a move there for boosted Blake, but it's just all about the traction. The GTR is very, very strong on the traction zone through the slow corners and really just gets the power down a lot faster than the Toyota Supra. We can just see that performance there. This is why we saw the likes of Gopi Mihidjic and Scott Taylor in Lobby A demonstrate that performance, that they have the strong tractions coming out of this GTR. Obviously, very, very heavy car. Kind of feels like you're driving a boat, but it's very strong on the exits of corners, and we can see there us trying to tickle the back end of the Hoon car. You can see he's getting ever so closer there. So I have a feeling that even though Jeff Bruin does have this performance, that he does have this upper hand, I wonder if overthinking and overconfidence in this car could become a big factor in this race.
Now, we do know that Jeff has not had the practice he would have wanted coming into round one. Gridline Racing, of course, putting in a huge amount of work early in the season and in the pre-season race at Daytona, which you would have seen featured in the season preview video at the beginning of the stream and on YouTube. So I think he's in a situation where he kind of wants to be proven, making a few points here. I don't know if he's going to be pushing too hard given the amount of practice he's had. Here we go again into turn one, into the braking zone at the 200, or actually the 150 marker is where these cars are braking at the moment in other games that I play. It is the 200 marker for reasons. Jeff Bruin, beautiful overtake through turn one. That is the textbook. He's round down the window and thrown the overtaking textbook directly at Booster Blake.
Yeah, absolutely. And he got the power down a lot sooner, taking a bit of a narrow approach through parabolic car just to really get himself a straight exit onto the back end of the rear wing of the Supra. So, you see Blake Williamson thinking about a move through De La Roggia. Very risky there from the Toyota driver, but just sits back, sits pretty in P3. Jeff Bruin making the moves early on at lap 7.
Bear in mind, Jeff Bruin, of course, has the fastest lap of the race as well. A 1:49.357. X-Pac is only one corner up the road for Mad Turtle. He started on the racing soft tire, one of the only in fact, Mad Turtle driver who has decided to start on the softs. Kind of makes sense. When you start from that P1, you want to be on the faster tire at the beginning of the race. Try and build that gap because you've got the advantage of clean air, which cannot be understated at Monza.
Yeah, absolutely. And through the practice sessions in the pre-race event leading up to round one, Joe Rudinsky and Axpat, he actually was so comfortable running on the soft tires that his tires were actually holding on over half race distance. So it's just kind of maybe mimicking the Gopi Mihidjic, Lewis Atkinson, Luke Stone strategy that we saw in Group A. But Expat is looking after those tires a lot nicer compared to those around him. So with that clear air, that advantage that he's got, a 1:50.1, while we saw Jeff Bruin with the fastest lap of 49.3. Yes, Jeff Bruin on paper is faster, but consistency and saving your tires for an extended period of time could be the big difference here to win this race.
And if we think about what happened in Group A, we saw a massive influx of the soft runners at the end of the race coming back on those medium guys, and the medium guys seem to be, I don't want to say struggling, but the speed differential here does seem to be rather massive. And I'd say, based on what we've seen so far, a two-stop strategy with all soft tires and not even touching the mediums might actually be the quicker approach despite the long pit stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did see a few drivers here in this lobby actually start on the racing mediums as well. So I can't remember who they will be as we get our cameraman to look down the field there. But if you do run those racing mediums, yes, you are going to be down the order 100%. Jack Finch up into P7 now after that half spin on lap 1. Oh, as we see the CP Ferrari run wide on the exit of De La Roggia. But look at this gaggle of cars here. This stretches all the way up to P7 with Jack Finch making the move on Mark Hogan. So he's now able to stretch his legs there. But Aussie GTR really, really struggling in that Ferrari 458, being the cork of the bottle and leading a pack of 4 cars behind him. But yeah, I feel like those on the racing mediums at the start, obviously there are 2 factors with this. One, they just might not be good on the tire wear strategy. They just might feel that the soft tires doesn't get them to that half race distance. Or the second part of it is just you probably haven't done a lot of practice runs, or you're kind of like running by yourself, maybe not working with your team as well. So I do know for the fact that Bob Massey has worked with us very well in our pre-race lobbies, but he did decide that the racing mediums was the best tire for him. But as well, you could just see that in some drives as he goes through the move on the CP Motorsports Ferrari, thinks better of it, sticks behind, waits for this first pit straight to try and get into that slipstream. But there are two factors in that. There is the factor of, minimal practice versus what the team actually thinks.
Well, we hear this from the likes of Andrew Scott over and over. I mean, he seems to talk about it every single time we get on stream. You've got to put the work in. You've got to do the practice. Here we go into turn one as we see Bob Massey making the overtake attempt into turn one. Has he got a car ahead? He does. And through we go into turn two. Great move there. Textbook from RPM. Aussie will have to now settle for TP10, but look out behind. It is Lightning Motorsports. Brits Lightning making a return to the GT3 Championship in AM class for his team. Lightning Motorsport, followed closely by Chip Berry, Legendary Berry, in pursuit for Black Rose Racing, also in AM class. So this is a AM class four-way battle, bar the fact that we have a Pro-Am driver sitting in the middle for CP Motorsports. Now, the Ferrari has chosen the medium tire, so that means he's going to have the tire life, but it's MR. And even though it is not as bad on the rear tires, it's still going to be significant. Yellow flag up ahead. What has happened? I believe that is Robinson off the track after Lesmo 2, and he has actually done a ping pong and gone probably 90 degrees nearly into the barrier on the left-hand side, Nick.
Oh, no, that is a huge moment there for Richard Robinson making his return to the GT3 field. We hadn't seen him in the TCR campaign, so he's making his return to MotorMotion E-Series, and this is not the way you want to be making your return. A mistake on the corner there through Lesmo 2, just very similar to what we saw with Matt McCullum in Lobby A, just a little bit too much on the AstroTurf, just spears it into the wall on the right-hand side, and just it kind of like bounced off from the left and then nearly bounced off to the bounced from the right, nearly bounced off to the left side of the car, so almost got damage on both ends of the car. So very, very lucky there. Very loose Ferrari there. He's going to have the NSX on next to him side by side with Legendary Berry trying to tuck in underneath the rear wing of the Ferrari and see if he can get himself onto the back end of that 458. Does he go for the move into turn one? He does. Does he outbrake himself and goes for the move onto the Honda? No, he doesn't. He's just going to stick tight and take that position away from the CP Motorsports driver. But the Ferrari, 1 second penalty next to his name. But the Ferrari so far, what we saw in Lobby A and Lobby B, not impressive, and not impressive to the Tifosis.
So far, we shall see. He's on the medium tyre, of course. Aussie now in 11th position as we see racing soft tyre drivers going ahead rather rapidly. Chip Berry there, smart move to be trying to outbrake the Ferrari driver into turn one. Of course, we had Aussie with Brits Lightning right ahead of him, so no way he can break that late. So it was going to be an easy overtake, but overshoots it massively, and a 1 second penalty has undone all of his hard work in the last few corners of this lap 10. Out of however many it's going to be, 28 or 27, we shall see. But that has undone a lot of the good work that he's just done there. Let's go and look around the entire field. We've had stuff going on all around, so we're going to get a full update as we head towards that period where we're going to see some pit stops, maybe starting in about 2 or 3 laps time. Expat for Mad Turtle Racing, the number 13 car, leading the race, and he's extended the gap quite significantly. Hasel1, Mark Hasseldean, has actually made it up ahead of Jeff Bruin, who was in second place. Now we find that the second place Pro-Am driver in this lobby is Mark Hasseldean, followed closely by Booster Blake, as I see Jeff Bruin peel off into the pit lane early on. Has he pulled that trigger too early?
Oh, this is very interesting here. I don't know what's happened to Jeff Bruin. I wonder if he's actually got damage on the car. I don't think so.
Nope,
From what I can see, no damage at all there. Booster Blake makes the move on Mark Hasseldean. So obviously, between Blake, the 747, and the 18 of Jeff Bruin, probably battling so hard to the point where Mark Hasseldean was so far back, he wasn't even in the picture for the battle for P2. So even though those two were battling so hard, Mark Hasseldean just got a 2-for-1 deal there, put it up into P2, and done a very good job there to hold it for the previous lap. But unfortunately, now loses that position to Booster Blake and calculate a risk here in Marcel Alberton in position 4, running very nicely in the Porsche 911. So we're seeing the highest placed Porsche 11 on the racing soft tires, not like what we saw with their teammates in the Group A lobby in the Elite and Pro class, both running on the racing mediums. So The Porsche's doing a really good job in this lobby, running to about lap 11. So we're not even 20 minutes into the race. So this is where, as we said as I mentioned in the previous lobby, you're looking at these numbers there, 17, 18 minutes in. And when did Jeff Bruin pull the trigger? On the 18th minute mark, he's committing to that two-stop.
He certainly is. We'll see if that works out for Jeff Bruin. He's going to find himself well down in the pack, probably with a little bit of clean air. We saw it work out quite nicely for Matthew Jointson in Lobby A, where the massive undercut actually sent him flying up the field, but got caught up in the gaggle of cars at the end. I think he decided to switch onto the slower tyre. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that quite worked out as well as Matthew Jointson had been hoping. Aster Racing having essentially a round to forget at the beginning of this series. Booster Blake in a train of 3 at the moment, P2, 3 and 4 overall in this category. Let's check and find where Jeff Bruin has actually ended up. There he is. So he's come out P11, but soft tyres. So I think we can deduce it now. Surely soft for Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question there for the grid line racing, but he's got a good gap between himself and the drivers in 10th place. You can see on the mini map there from position 2 to position 10, it is relatively close, and you can see the last car exiting the Retifilia corners right now. That is legendary Berry Chip Berry in position 10, and then we can see the first car leading that pack, Boosted Blake, going into De La Roggia. So you could say relatively these guys are so close to each other. And that they fight a lot, and their dying tires are going to really be the backbone of their Achilles heel. Jeff Bruin's going to reel these guys in. He's going to reel them in very, very fast.
Well, and then look at the fastest lap. I mean, if he's able to do anything close to a 49.3, he'll be still about 1.5 seconds faster a lap than these guys. And it is not a short lap, you know, always going to be above that 1:30 sort of area. But at the end of the day, you know, it's going to make a difference. Jeff Bruin will probably be catching them just as they're hitting their pit stops as well. This could work out incredibly well for the Gridline Racing Pro-Am driver. Not working out so well for RPM. The 808 Bob Massey has picked up a 1 second penalty, unfortunately, so finds himself in an awful position. That's going to destroy the work that he had been doing, and away drives Hogues. Mark Hogan for Aster Racing into the sunset for now, and the slipstream essentially has been handed off to the car behind. Troy Britnell, not Broy Tritnell, which was what I was about to say, Nick. Maybe that'll have to be his new nickname. But no, Troy Britnell in the slipstream now. He's got an opportunity in the Honda. Medium tyres as well, so he's running long, just like RPM.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'll commend you for that there for Roy at Britnell. I did the same thing in Lobby A. I don't know if anyone actually would pick that up. I actually called Nick Pfaff and Luke Stone, Luke Pfaff and Nick Stone. So I had a bit of a mumble there. So it's 1 for 1 here, George. But yeah, no, it's a great hit for Troy Britnell to be in position 8. Incidentally, his teammate actually has had a disconnect. So we only have the sole Honda NSX on track. Unfortunately for Mitch Collin, a DC early on in this race here, and not going to be scoring points in the Pro-Am class.
Oh, that is a real shame. Of course, these things do afflict us in sim racing. We don't have engine breakdowns as such. We don't have suspension cracks or overheated brakes. What we have are dodgy internet connections, bad ISPs, overheating internet communication boxes, bad satellite coverage. All of those things can affect the sim racing lobbies. Unfortunately, Mitch Collin falling afoul of that today. Really gutted for them, and gutted for the Lightning Motorsport troop, who are looking to have a really good season. We've seen them evolve leaps and bounds. We had Lightning Motorsport and Team Capital, who I believe is the second offshoot team that Troy Britnell has set up and was racing for in the TCR Cup. Leaps and bounds throughout the season. They've always been this sort of underdog, dark horse. Maybe this is the time for them to really start stepping up. They've got a great troop of drivers with them. They've got Troy Britnell, of course, in the AM class, Mitch Collin Pro-Am. 2 pro drivers, though. Feels like they've got a little bit of a disadvantage in this overall, but they'll still be able to gather those team points. It's a team game, Nick, across the season.
Oh, absolutely. And unfortunately for them, that they couldn't pick themselves up an elite driver in their squad. So they are having to deal with that you would say a little bit of a handicap, but it's not really a handicap because they're trying their best to get themselves some really good points in this team championship. Obviously, we've seen drivers from the CP Motorsports camp and Hasel1 Motorsport camp. They've only got 2 entries overall, so we can say that in the fact that they have gained advantages on the drivers that they only have 2 drivers in each lobby. But what we can say with Troy Britnell, I mean, he's been part of this operation here at MotorMotion E-Series since day one back in 2022. So he's been really putting in the efforts here. Sorry, 2021. He's been really putting in the efforts here to be consistent with this series, and obviously he's found a love with this series. He's brought his own team, Lightning Motorsports, to the fold, getting their license in with getting their level 1 RCA 2 years ago to be a part of this series. Troy Britnell always been bouncing off between teams. You know, everyone wanted a piece of Troy. Troy went from one team to another team to another team to another team. It's like an unlimited transfer window for Troy Britnell. He's one of the hottest drivers on the market, and everyone decided to pick him up as he goes for an outside move there on Hogan. Nicely done there. A bit more advantage on that medium tire compared to the driver in Hogan, but got a 1-second penalty, so probably that's why he didn't want to fight that too much for the veteran. But yeah, Troy Britnell, a very great guy as well. Over the headset, he's a really nice guy to talk to, and he's very enjoyable to get along with. So that's probably why drivers want to be part of his team, because it's a friendly attitude. He's a great guy, and you know, the drivers that he's had in his camp, especially with the likes of Campbell Knowles, Cruz in the TCR Cup, Chris Farapapa, Michael Brill. You know, these drivers they just have a strong connection and a strong bond.
Indeed, yeah, he has a huge kindness about him, and of course he cares deeply about enjoying sim racing and not making it too serious or too competitive, though I think he's got a bit of a competitive bone running through his spinal column, that is for sure. Maybe 2 or 3, in fact. We've got a number of people jumping into the pits, and the medium runners as well. So Hogan in the pits after serving a 1-second penalty, Troy Britnell in the pits as well. Early, technically speaking, although arguably completely fine, limited of course by fuel rather than the medium tires length, and Legendary Berry has a 0.5 second penalty to his name, so that puts RPM up into the lead of this race. Our former leader Bob Massey is in 4th, sorry, not Bob Massey, Expat is in 4th position with Jeff Bruin up ahead of him. So is that the undercut working magic there? It kind of is, but this will be a low fuel run for Jeff Bruin. And I suspect with the fresh tires on Expat's car, yeah, fresh racing softs, this is going to be a bit of a chase and catch here.
Yeah, but then you look at the cars right behind there, that massive pack there. There's a little bit of gap there between what we can see with Richard Robertson, who also has done an undercut strategy as well. He's coming to a 2-stopper. We look there with Boosted Blake, Calculator Risk, Jack Finch, Mark Hasseldine, Graham Splint in the second driver of the Gridline Racing Camp. I feel like Jeff really needs to get the foot down and needs to get the power down, but unfortunately, he's going to really, really struggle in this part of the race there, because these guys are on fresh softs. He's on, I would say, 4 or 5 lap old tires, while these guys are fresh out of the blanket on the car and ready to go. But the big thing that could help Jeff potentially is this lap traffic here. I feel like this lap traffic could be something that these guys will struggle with in this early part of the race, or in this early stages of this stint.
Yeah, smell of the oily rag for RPM as he comes in on 0 liters of fuel. There's the overtake for Blue Dog. Beautiful overtake into Parabolica. Absolutely textbook again. We have seen some wonderful, wonderful overtakes. Probably almost cleaner overtakes in some way than Group A. So Lobby B changing things up as we see Jack Finch and Calculated Risk going at it down the main straight into turn 1. They will come onto lap 16. The Pro-Am driver in the 755 Porsche getting overtaken by Boosted Blake, who moves himself back up. Sorry, that's not Boosted Blake. That is Jack Finch moving himself up ahead of Calculated Risk for a change in the AM class standings. I think at the moment, relatively speaking, that puts Jack Finch into the lead of the AM class here. Let's just do a double check around the field. Robinson up there. By the way, coming out of the woodwork a little bit, another undercut for the Aster Racing team, working out nicely. We'll come back to that in a few moments' time. And then, of course, it is Bruin for Pro-Am. and then Aussie for Pro-Am. So yes, it is Jack Finch leading us away for Hooncorp, and another Hooncorp driver leading the second category in our groups.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great start. It is a great recovery drive for Jack Finch after having his almost heart-and-mouth moment full spin in the car on the exit of the chicane into De La Roggia. So he's actually gained a lot of his time back now and is back on the rear wing of his teammate, Blake Williamson, in position 5. So this has really, really worked out a lot for Jack Finch. A very calm head, very smooth driving, no silly overtakes. He's been getting a couple of second penalties next to his name, yes, but he's been keeping the car clean and consistent. That he's now in the back of his teammate and he's actually closing in on him. So this gives him the lead in the AM class, but this could potentially be a blessing in disguise for him because running P6, we have Jeff Brune and Richard Robertson, and now we have Aussie GTR in Hayden Jones, that is for CP Motorsports, coming into the pit lane. How many drivers is that? That is about 3 drivers coming into the pit lane now. He's gaining positions, and guess what, George? He's gaining points.
He is indeed, and this is the critical thing. We'll have a little rundown as we head towards the end of the race on who is where in terms of the teams, who's going to be getting extra points. Certainly at the moment, I'd say Hooncorp Esports looking to maybe take home a few extra points today. Expat leading Mad Turtle away, who had a double podium finish in Group A. Third place to Nick here, my co-commentator, and of course second place to his counterpart. Names are leaving my mind for some reason. Don't bother correcting me. I'll get there eventually. As we see a personal best into Sector 1 for Jack Finch. He's got pace on his teammate right now, and Boosted Blake, I'm sure, will be happy to have his teammate right behind them, pushing him along and keeping them out of the range of the Black Rose Racing cars looming behind. 31 minutes done. Track temperature and conditions looking relatively favorable. Headwind into Parabolica. That means tailwind into turn 1. Might be why we're seeing a few loose rear ends on the exit of turn 2 and heading into Curva Grande, where you do need all the aero you can possibly muster. Here goes calculated risk, and it is a 0.5 second penalty for Jack Finch. He's cut the course somewhere.
Yeah, that looks to be a very classic De La Roggia cut there, probably on the exit off the second part of the chicane there. 0.5 of a second penalty. That's going to feel like an eternity as you come to the burn zone right here, trying to get off the racing line as much as you can. Oh, bit of an interesting burn there. It goes on the left and then veers very sharp to the right there. So I'm not sure they're going to be looking into that as a dangerous burning off the penalties. But Jack, nonetheless, still leads the way in his class, running P6 behind calculator risk. But this is a great story for Hooncorp Esports. The elite and pro drivers, Lewis Atkinson and Luke Stone, on the podium. Is looking to be a repeat here in this lobby as well, with both Blake Williamson and Jack Finch to looking to hopefully replicate that in Lobby B.
That's right, but you know, Jack Finch, it's not going to be a particularly comfortable situation he's in. He had that buffer of calculated risk ahead of him. Now we see Blue Dog for Gridline Racing right in there, in the mix for this one. And given the way that this GTR can perform, we saw a repeat of this a number of times. We saw it with Jeff Bruen. We've seen it with a number of people in Group A as well. And this Nissan is a beast in the traction zone, whether it's braking or accelerating. Very early on the brakes there for calculated risk, maybe suffering for some rear tire degradation. Shouldn't be, considering they're fresh, but I don't know, Nick, you can probably tell me better than I know, but a few laps in, you start to feel it in the tires a little bit. Oh, it does appear we do have a microphone problem for Nick Pautasso. Our analytics man will return in a few moments' time. Just give him a couple of minutes to sort out his microphone. I do feel like you do feel it in the tyres. After a few laps, you come out of the pits, and that first couple of glorious laps, you feel like you've got nearly infinite grip. And then all of a sudden, you're finding yourself without that, and the car's starting to understeer just that little bit. Jack Finch making some good progress on calculated risk as we head with a headwind into Parabolica. It might be a move. He wants to keep out of range of Blue Dog. He pulls to the inside line, late on the brakes, and there we go. It's going to be an overtake, but calculated risk having none of it.
Yeah, that's a great defense there for Jack Finch. Hopefully you've got me now here, George. Yep. But it's a great move that he's actually put there. They're going side by side. You actually can do a very late break into the Parabolica with this I would say it was a headwind. Now it's kind of gone into a crosswind. So you can kind of get later on the brakes there, but that's what we saw with Calculator Risk. Got later on the brakes himself and managed to go around the outside as well. So some nice driving there from these two drivers to actually get the braking performance that they need. But that straight line speed of the Supra, you can't fault that. The Porsche really lacks in the straight line speed. While it makes up in the corners, does lack a lot in that straight line speed. But going back to your point with the tire strategy, yes, the first few laps does feel very, very nice. You're pretty much setting fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap. Looking around about lap 5, as soon as you start to see around about 20%, 25% of red, that's when you feel the difference in the compound of tires.
Yeah, and I think that's the same with something you have to become familiar with in terms of what your car and how your car is going to feel that degradation, how it's going to start performing under those conditions. Something that the drivers just need to work on, and some of them won't be as familiar with the cars that
No,
they've been given by
absolutely.
their teams this season, will they?
No, absolutely, because every car has their different characteristics of how the tires are wearing out. So we see here with the GTR, for example, as we see Jeff Brun most likely going to be coming into the pit lane at the end of this lap. So that's around about the lap 9, lap 8 mark that he's been going on his tires here. I'll be very keen to see where he comes out. So this leads Joe Rudinsky in expat ahead of the field now to take back the lead here in Lobby B. But every car has its strengths and weaknesses with the tire wear. We know that the MR cars, the mid-engine rear-wheel drive cars, will struggle a lot on the softer compound of tires. They will burn through their tires like absolute crazy speeds. So we can see the onboard here with calculator wrist there. You can see the rears are actually holding on a little bit nicer towards the front there, but it's kind of even tire wear with the front and the rears. So while the car does feel it bogs down a lot, especially if you put this car on a grid start rather than a rolling start, this car will probably be uh, making its way into turn 1, lap 1, while every other driver is on lap 20. That's how slow it is with the start line. Oh, as a 1 second penalty there for Jack Finch. But the MR cars are going to really be struggling on those soft tires because they can burn through it a lot faster. So while they have the advantage of fastest laps at the early parts of the race, the second part, they will lose time and they're going to be in that danger zone of losing that one-stop strategy potential that they'll have to run a two-stopper. But I feel like with what we've seen here in this opening round, I do feel that most of these MR drivers, especially with the Hondas, running that racing medium tire, it seems to be the way to go for them because it's just that soft tire just won't make that 25-minute mark.
Yeah, and they have to get there. I mean, depends on what strategy they're trying to take. If they're going to use the medium at all, you might as well be thinking about the one stop. You can extend a little bit, but fuel becomes that constraint, a constant constraint. The medium tire, yes, it'll last probably the whole race if you really wanted it to. You're never going to have the fuel to do it at the end of the day. So it makes sense that over the course of this first round, Nick, we've actually seen basically a natural evolution, a natural theory evolve or emerge, I should say, from the two-stop stay on softs all the way through. So why wouldn't you? Jeff Brun with a 0.5-second penalty. We've seen Finch pushing way too hard to try and stay ahead of calculated risk. And now back here, Hogan absolutely going for it. But talk to us a little bit about that natural emergence of the two-stopper as we watch this fantastic battle evolve for P8.
Well, the only way you're going to make a two-stop work is if you are, let's say, in the way of Gopi speed, Gopi Mahidra speed, Lewis Atkinson speed. You really have to be putting the fastest lap. We did see Jeff Brun set a 49.3, but the problem was that he could not set the same pace as we see Bob Massey go for the move on the CP Motorsports rider. Will he go for 2 here going into Red Affiliate? No, it just sticks to 1. Does the Mad Turtle Racer, but the CP Motorsports was looking to hold around the outside, but tucks right in underneath. The two-stopper, the only way you're going to make a two-stopper work is if you have a clear pace advantage over the rest of the field there. But what we saw in the qualifying results, that the lap times were so close to each other that none of them were actually, it didn't look like there was a driver that could, merge into the 1 minute 48s or low 1 minute 48s. Obviously, no offense to the drivers in the Pro and AM class. I'm sure they put in all the hard work to try and get the lap times as low as possible. But the only way that's going to work is if you have a clear advantage over everybody else. Jeff Brun, as we saw early in the race, strong pace advantage. We saw him with the braking performance of the GTR. And what we saw with Scott Taylor in lobby A, it just didn't look like it worked for them. Obviously, the only way you make that work is if you have a pace advantage of 49.3. Doesn't really cut it, unfortunately.
No, exactly. And of course, a refresher for those watching of the qualifying results. I go from Mahindra in Group A, a 147, yes, a 47.5. He was 0.854. So nearly a second clear of his nearest runner, Lewis, despite Lewis's race pace being absolutely excellent and actually staying really, really close. As we see 3 wide in a Parabolica, something's happened to Jeff Bruin. He has had a big mistake in Ascari. He's dropped right back into this battle pack, ended up 3 wide, and worst of the pack of 3, doing that as RPM tries to defend the inside line, doesn't want to give it up to the RCZ. The RCZ wants it though, because that's where the traction's going to be. Dives to the left-hand side. Is he going to try deep braking around the outside? I think they're going to be nearly 3 wide as Jeff Bruin wants to send it down the middle into the braking zone, has to pull out, but side by side it goes. Aster Racing with a little bit of contact between him and the Gridline Racing R35. Welcome to the party. CP Motorsports and Aussie wants a piece of it. Something awful has happened to Jeff Bruin, and he's now finding himself in 9th.
He had to serve the half-second penalty there, George. That's what it was. He had a half-second penalty over his head, and he had to serve it, and that's what brought Bob Massey and Mark Hogan into the play. They're making a 3 wide into Parabolica. What a chaotic scenes here that we have on display for us, ladies and gentlemen. The battle for P7 rages on. Troy Britnell doing a fantastic job getting himself away from this pack to be the lead Honda in a P6. But yeah, Jeff Bruin just really struggled there with that half-second penalty. Really, really close call there, and very scary moment going into Retifilio.
Crikey, it's one of those things when you get a car who is slowing down, they'll be on the right-hand side of the track, racing line, of course, on the left-hand side as you enter that final corner. You can see that in the track map where a few cars are just coming into that final corner at the bottom of the track map. It is a scary moment. Suddenly you find yourself having to overtake around the outside, not able to take the inside apex at all. It's exactly what's ended up happening with Jeff Bruin, and he's unfortunately become part of a rather spectacular battle. Clearly still got a lot of pace on his car, but 9th doesn't deserve this based on the current race pace. He's bringing into the inside line. We go. Great defense attempt by Hogan. He will still hold the outside, but it'll be a car length ahead for Jeff Bruin, and he does make the position back to P8 in this race, but it'll be a big slipstream effect for Mark Hogan, and he's going to try the outside line again. I don't know why he doesn't dive to that inside and force the issue.
Yeah, but he's got a little bit of straight line advantage there, but the Nissan GTR really, really pulls on that straight there. Even though he got it underneath the rear wing of the GTR, as soon as he got out of it, the GTR was a lot faster. So even though the RCZ is lower to the ground than the GTR and has a better slipstream advantage, couldn't even get past him, but he's looking to go around the outside of the Curva Grande, rather. Jeff Bruin goes on to the defensive there. Mark Hogan is trying to go around the outside and outbrake him through Della Roggia. Let's see what happens here. Jeff Bruin later on the brakes there, runs it very deep there over the curves. Oh. Hopefully there's no half and second penalty next to his name, but he looks to be in the clear here. Stays in P8. Mark Hogan still concedes to P9, and he's now bringing in both Hayden Jones in the CP Motorsports and Chip Berry right behind there in 10th and 11th. The battle pack for P8 rages on, with Bob Massey now getting himself clear from Jeff Bruin.
Oh, I love to see defensive moves like that into Della Roggia. You hold the inside line, you brake deep, you swing it into the outside line, and then take a shallow line through the second part of Della Roggia. Beautiful racecraft there from the number 18 car, and great respect from Hogan to give the space required. He was looking really, really strong with a switchback through Curva Grande, but unfortunately not able to make it stick. And Jeff Bruin being quite the difficult concrete wall to get through at the moment. Now under pressure, of course, from Aussie, and that is going to be CP Motorsports Pro-Am driver Nick. We're 7 minutes away from the end of this race. Can't believe round 1 has almost elapsed already. Let's go around the grid because we haven't given a lot of time to those at the top of the grid. It is Expat leading the race overall and leading himself in Pro-Am category. Boosted Blake in second place and finding themselves both with a bit of clean air. And then, of course, we have Calculated Risk, third place overall, third place in Pro-Am. Jack Finch still on a charge. Doesn't probably want to take away third place overall from Calculated Risk, but will do so if he can. Boy, oh boy, just makes me think. if he didn't have those 2.5 or so seconds worth of penalties this race, 3 times, with I think 1 second and 2.5 second penalties, imagine where he'd be. He'd be 3rd overall and 1st in AM class, and Hooncourt would be right back up there. They're already on for a podium in AM class now. They got a podium in the pro class, of course, with Luke Stone. So they're on a real early charge here, and Hooncourt looking strong. The Supra, not as out of the meta as I think maybe we maybe thought.
Absolutely, yeah, and this car is very strong. Obviously, they've done a lot of research, done a little bit of homework in that pre-season to talk with Lewis Atkinson, the team boss of Hooncourt Motorsports for MotorMotion E-Series. Obviously, doing a lot of homework, going to a lot of tracks, doing their R&D development to actually get to pick out which car they wanted. And obviously, they all agreed that this Toyota Supra is the meta car, is the strongest car on the grid there. So I wonder how the round robin went. I would have loved to have been part of that boardroom to see who got first pick, because if Hooncourt got the first pick, I wonder if they decided to go in hard early and pick the Supra, while everyone else would have been head scratching themselves and thinking, why didn't we pick the Supra? But what we can see here, Booster Blake P2 for Blake Williamson in 2nd in class, Jack Finch leading the AM class. It's very similar to what we saw in Lobby A. We had Lewis Atkinson P2 in class and Luke Stone P1 in class. So it's basically just copy and paste with Hooncourt. These guys are flying here with less than 5 minutes to go.
I was about to say, you might not want to be in part of that council meeting. You ever heard of the First Council of Nicaea? Anyway, for those of you who don't know what that is, go and look it up, or certainly see some more of the comedic interpretations of the event. Nonetheless, we return to 5th place here. It is Mark Hasel1 on for a great result here. He's actually ended up on the medium tyre at the end of this race with 4 minutes to go, looking strong for a 4th position finish in the Pro-Am category with 5th overall. Then it is Troy Britnell, 2nd place in AM class category on the racing soft tires with Jeff Bruin behind him. And looks like something happened to RPM. Bob Massey has had an issue and he's fallen back behind Jeff Bruin, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that just may have been a nice clean pass there that Jeff Bruin put through the Della Roggia chicane. So obviously cleared Bob Massey on this lap there. So it just looked like a very textbook move, seeing on my secondary screens there that he did get the move done before Della Roggia. So it's Jeff Bruin up to P7. But what we saw with Troy Britnell's car, it is almost on the rims here and it's pretty much nearly there. Oh, this is going to be very, very close finish for Troy Britnell. Is he going to be able to hold on to this car? What have we got? Less than 3 minutes to go. So we're looking at about 2 more laps after this lap. This is going to be a very, very tight finish for Troy Britnell to see if he can actually hold on to this P6.
Yeah, I mean, look, the battle with Jeff Bruin, not a battle he really needs to be fighting. That's Pro-Am for Jeff. AM class for Troy Britnell, RPM same. Oh no, that is an AM class driver. So RPM, Bob Massey is the 3rd place AM class driver at the moment. So he is in a battle with Troy Britnell. So Britnell needs to not get held up by Jeff Bruin. Probably should be thinking about whether he can let him go and then use his slipstream to elevate him ahead of RPM in the last couple of laps of this race. Expat, I believe, is coming through Lesmo 2 at the moment. So he will be on. Oh, actually, this is going to be really close. I don't know if we're going to get 27th lap. I think we will. I think we will get a 27th lap in this race, but some won't. Oh, big tank slapper there for Troy Britnell. He's losing grip. Jeff Bruin wants to get past him as soon as possible. Wow! Down the inside of Lesmo 1. It's brave from both of them. It'll be inside line for Lesmo 2 for the number 18 car. Troy Britnell's going to try and hold around the outside, but this is the kind of fighting that I was saying that he shouldn't be engaging with, because look who's there. Mad Turtle Racing.
Yeah, that's going to be P2. So this is the battle for P2 in the AM class. Troy Britnell trying to hold on to P2 while Bob Massey, the Mad Turtle driver, trying to make the charges. And on this later stints of the race, they will be able to do 1 more lap here. So they will complete their 27th lap. But Troy Britnell is hanging on by a thread there. That was very brave of him to go around the outside of Lesmo 1 on dead tyres. Nonetheless, on the 55, trying to hold it on Jeff Bruin. That was a great job. And Jeff gets another half-second penalty. So, like we saw with Scotty Taylor getting half-second penalties, Bob Massey is looking to get past him, and he does. Ooh, nearly takes him out there on the entry to Parabolica. So nice, smart driving there. Troy Britnell holds on for another lap here. This is going to be very, very close to see what happens to Troy Britnell's car.
Oh, here we go. Last lap antics. We saw it in Group A. We're seeing it in Group B as well, as the strategies come colliding back together like lightning. And like lightning is exactly what Troy Britnell needs to be doing. Jeff trying up the inside line. RPM having none of it, saying, "You're interrupting my battle for P2. Get out of here, take a sideline and step back, Mr. GTR. You've had the pace, but you've had a lot of penalties. It's my time to shine." RPM saying, "No, my elbows are out, and I am chasing after Troy Britnell for the second place." Will he have the time, though, to catch up? His tyres are gone. Troy Britnell's are nearly completely gone as well. And, of course, RPM's going to have a lot of pressure on there by Jeff Bruin, as well as we do see a moment. And Jeff Bruin is gone. Oh, he's right in the barrier, 90 degrees. Shadow Realm, welcome to the Shadow Realm. You've just lost your first Yu-Gi-Oh battle. Certainly not the first, actually, for Jeff Bruin for sure. But that is damage for him. It is damage for Blue Dog as well. And Gridline Racing, oh boy, this has ended so poorly for them. In the wall for Jeff Bruin, in the wall for Blue Dog. It's a disaster. Let's go back to the top of the field, because the final corner, 27 laps later, it is going to be Expat for Mad Turtle Racing taking a victory in Pro-Am class. The number 13 takes the checkered flag for the first round of the Player1 Sim Gear GT3 Championship. The 747 car for Hooncorp will take a very honourable P2, and then it is Calculated Risk P3, followed closely by Jack Finch, who couldn't get ahead for P3 overall, but will take the AM class victory here in the first round of this season. Mark Hasel1 will take a very well-deserved position 5 overall. And then here we go. We're going to come right down to the wire. The 55 doesn't have the speed, doesn't have the traction. It does. Troy Britnell holds on for P2 finish in the AM class, followed by Bob Massey. Oh my goodness, what an absolutely electric end to this lobby. We need a cool down period, Nick, and I've got a good remedy for that. We're going to head back to the chatting screen and we're going to talk about the results. We'll see you over there in a few moments' time, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, you gotta love Group B. You gotta love Group A. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the GT3 Championship, and this is only the first round. 2 hours of racing done, and we have another 9 rounds ahead of us. Let's bring up the results of our Group B, and it's going to be first up, the Pro-Am. Joe Rudinsky. What a performance, Nick.
Absolutely. And, you know, led from start to finish there. Soft tyre strategy from start in the first stint and the second stint. Made that work to absolute perfection. Joe Rudinsky, take a bow, got himself very clear margins over the rest of the field. Blake Williamson holds on to P2. Marcel Alberton rounds up the podium for the Pro-Am class, but great drive from the Mad Turtle driver. Mark Hasel1, last season's AM division champion, making himself a name for himself in the Pro-Am class, finishing in P4. Hayden Jones for CP Motorsports rounds up the top 5. Jeff Bruin, what could have been for the Gridline Racer on the final lap as well, battling hard with Bob Massey. Didn't need to battle hard with the Mad Turtle driver, but he just cost himself valuable positions there and finishing down in P6. Richard Robertson, the last of the drivers on the grid here tonight, unfortunately, with Mitch Collin down in P8, suffering that disconnect early on in the race and finishing down in 8th place.
There we go. Your Pro-Am results. Thank you very much there. And your AM class results, Jack Finch and Hooncorp Esports, 2 second category wins in each group. They won the pro category. They won the AM victory as well. Jack Finch will be on the moon at the moment, 40 points to his name. And for Hooncorp Esports, that is a great result. Troy Britnell in second place. Take Bow, the CEO of Lightning Motorsports, 34 points he'll take home, followed by Bob Massey. Another double podium for Mad Turtle Racing. I'll get excited on it because if I let Nick loose right now, he'll talk about it for the rest of the evening, and I know he will anyway. Mark Hogan in 4th place for Aster Racing in the AM class, followed by Chip Berry for Black Rose Racing, Graham Splint, and of course we had Blake Durston and Ben Blake are not able to make it today, so 0 points to their name. Let's talk a little bit about driver of the day. It's not going to be the easiest decision here, and we've already given Luke Stone. Was it Luke's? I think we gave it to Luke Stone. I can't even remember at the moment. Remind me? Who did we give driver of the day to?
You gave yours to Luke Stone. I gave mine to Glenn Mead. So it was a bit of a split strategy on the driver of the day.
Help us resolve that in chat, ladies and gentlemen. Let us know exactly who your driver of the day is. We'll try and calculate those at the end of the day. Certainly for me, I mean, Jack Finch, wonderful performance, and overall third position. No, it was overall fourth position. I correct myself. Overall fourth position. Very, very honourable stuff there. I think I'm going to have to say that my driver of the day is going to have to be Jack Finch for Group B.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also have to remember as well, on lap 1, he did have that half spin with Bob Massey. So the two AM drivers working themselves back up into position 1 and 3 in class. So very top drive there, but it's going to be tough here. I feel like I definitely want to say Jack Finch did a very fantastic job. I wouldn't mind giving him my driver of the day, but I do want to give it to Troy Britnell. Running on the rims on the final lap there and almost losing that position to Bob Massey. What can we say about him? He was the sole Honda NSX. His teammate, Mitch Cullen, DC'd, so he had all the hard work to do to try and get that Honda NSX up the front of the field. And he started from the back as well. Last position for Troy Britnell to finish P6 overall and second in class with a dead rear left tire. Man, that is a worthy drive for Troy Britnell, and that is my pick for driver of the day. So at least we give our driver of the days to the AM drivers, but no mention from the pro AMs, even though they've done a fantastic job up ahead.
Hey, look, we know that all throughout the season things are going to chop and change, but there's too many options there. You know, picking driver of the day is not very fair for us. So let us know in chat, who is your favorite driver today? Who do you think deserved the overall driver of the day? Let us know. So the standings look like this. For the AM title, the top 3, Jack Finch, Troy Britnell, Bob Massey. Then in the Pro-Am title, it is Joe Rudinsky, Blake Williamson, Marcel Albertin. Then in the Pro category, Luke Stone, Glenn Mead, Matthew Jointson. In the Elite, Gopi Mahindajit. Can anyone stop him? Lewis Atkinson and Nick Pautasso, our co-commentator tonight. So that means, Nick, in terms of the team's title, and this is critical, Hooncorp, with the best day out on round 1, finds himself on 116 points. Followed by Mad Turtle Racing. Yes, I'll give you a chance to talk about your team in a moment. On 105 points. So an 11-point difference already between the two teams. Then Aster Racing on 83. Co-joined in third place with Black Rose and Gridline. All 3 teams on 83 points. Then it's Lightning Motorsport 68, Hasel1 on 44 due to a lot of drivers not being able to make it, and CP Motorsport, similar story, and 36 points to their name. The Ferraris are struggling out there today. But oh boy, Hooncorp and Mad Turtle seems to be the battle brewing in the GT3 Championship Season 3.
Seems to be the battle, absolutely, but we do have to remember it is the first round. We have 9 rounds to go here. We're starting our European leg here, and I can't wait for the next one. Circuit de la Sarthe, Le Mans. Oof, this is one of my favorite tracks. So hopefully the Mercedes lives up to its name of having a great performance around there, especially down the Mulsanne straight. It'll be very exciting to see how the top end goes for the Mercedes-Benz, but the GTR looking to be a very strong contender as well. So I'll be looking for that bounce back from the Gridline Racing camp. But Hooncorp Esports, all their drivers on the podium, just like us at Mad Turtle Racing on the podiums. It's time for someone else to step up to the mark here, because the front two of Hooncorp and Mad Turtles just occupying the podiums in round 1. Can anyone stop us?
Let's see. Let us see. Fantastic stuff ahead of us, of course. Round 2, Cirque de la Sarthe. Join us, of course, next week. Saturday broadcasts, Tuesday races. That's how the season is going to progress. We've got 9 rounds to go in this season. From us here in the commentary box and Trackspot TV, the broadcasting partner of MotorMotion E-Series, we thank you very much for tuning in today. My name is George Cook. I've been joined by Nick Pautasso. Big thanks, of course, to MotorMotion E-Series. Check them out, www.motormotioneseries.wordpress.com. And of course, our main sponsor of the GT3 Championship, Player1 Sim Gear. Go and check them out on p1simgear.com.au. They have everything you need for sim racing, so please go and support them online. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, round 2 awaits, and we await to see you there as well for that broadcast. Stay safe, stay well, and of course, stay racing. We'll see you next time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, and goodbye.